Hey everyone, I'm Monoscaling. I'm here to guide you today. If you use this video to drift off to sleep, please tap like, hit subscribe, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there. Now get comfortable and relax. Story 1. My name is Michael Green. I'm writing this down because I need to remember it correctly, need to get the sequence of events straight in my head before I lose track of what actually happened and what I read was going to happen. It's been 3 weeks since we left Ocala National Forest, and I still check the dates every morning when I wake up, just to make sure time is moving the way it's supposed to. We went down to Florida in late September, me and my wife Diane, along with our friends Tom and Linda Morrison. Tom and I worked together at an accounting firm in Atlanta. We'd been talking about taking our RVs out for a joint trip for over a year, but something always came up. Kids' schedules, work projects, the usual excuses. Finally, that fall, we just committed to a week in Ocala National Forest. Diane had been stressed about her mother's declining health, and I thought getting away would be good for her. The drive down was fine. We caravanned, Tom and Linda in their Winnebago ahead of us, Diane and me in our slightly smaller Airstream. We'd rented spots at a place called Alexander Springs, decent facilities, not too crowded this time of year. The Forest Service campground was maybe 40% full when we arrived on a Thursday afternoon. I remember thinking it looked perfect. Tall pines, that distinctly Florida scrubland feel. Warm, but not oppressive. Our sites were next to each other, backing up to a trail that led deeper into the forest. Tom grilled burgers that first night while Linda and Diane caught up on gossip about people from the firm. Everything felt normal. Easy. Friday morning, I went for a hike alone. Diane wanted to sleep in, and Tom was still nursing his coffee, so I grabbed my water bottle and headed out on the trail behind our campsite. The path was well marked at first. Those blue blazes on the trees every 50 yards or so, but about a mile in, I noticed a smaller trail branching off to the right. No markings on it, just a clear deer path or something similar. I should have stayed on the main trail. I know that now. But at the time I was feeling good, wanted to explore a bit. The smaller path wound through thicker vegetation, and after maybe 15 minutes, I came to a small clearing. There was an old stump in the center, rotted through in places, and scattered around it were what looked like the remains of someone's camping gear from years ago. A rusted Coleman lantern, some frayed rope, part of a tarp. The diary was sitting on top of the stump. Not buried, not hidden. Just sitting there like someone had left it for me to find. It was one of those composition notebooks, black and white marble cover, slightly warped from moisture but not destroyed. I picked it up and flipped through it. The entries were handwritten in blue ink, neat cursive, and dated. The first date was that day. Friday, September 22nd. I opened to that page and started reading. Michael arrives at the clearing at 9:47 a.m. He finds this diary and reads these words. He will think about leaving it here, but will take it with him because he's curious. On his way back to camp, he will see a deer with a broken front leg. It will be standing in the middle of the path, not moving, just staring at him. He won't mention this to anyone. My hands went cold. I checked my watch. 9:51 a.m., 4 minutes ago. I looked around the clearing, suddenly aware of how quiet it had gotten. No birds, no insects. Nothing. Just silence and the sound of my own breathing. I almost dropped the notebook right there. Almost. But I didn't. Because whoever wrote this knew I wouldn't. I kept reading. That night at dinner, Tom will cut his hand while slicing vegetables. It won't be serious, but Linda will make a big deal about it. And Diane will mention that she's been having dreams about her mother dying. Michael will comfort her but won't sleep well. He'll wake up at 2:47 a.m. and look outside to see someone standing at the edge of the tree line just beyond the range of the camping lights. He won't be sure if he actually saw it or imagined it. I closed the notebook. My heart was pounding in a way that felt wrong, too fast and too hard. This had to be some kind of prank. Tom must have set this up somehow. He knew I liked to hike in the mornings, probably planted this diary on the trail. It would be exactly his kind of joke. Elaborate and slightly mean-spirited. But Tom hadn't known I would take the side path. Hell, I hadn't known until I did it. I walked back to camp quickly, looking for that deer the whole way. I didn't want to see it, but I couldn't help looking. And there it was, maybe 20 yards from where the side trail met the main path. A doe with her left front leg bent at a wrong angle, just standing there in the middle of the trail. Not eating, not moving, staring directly at me with dark, expressionless eyes. I walked past it, giving it a wide berth. It didn't move, didn't even flinch. Back at the campsite, I shoved the diary into my backpack and didn't mention it. Diane was making pancakes on our camp stove, and Tom and Linda were arguing good-naturedly about whether to visit the spring that afternoon or drive into town for supplies. Everything was normal. That night, Tom cut his hand. It happened exactly like the diary said. He was chopping bell peppers for fajitas, the knife slipped, and he got his left palm. Not deep, but enough to bleed. Linda fussed over him, wrapping it in gauze, and Tom made jokes about workers' compensation for vacation injuries. We laughed. Then Diane said, "I've been having these dreams about Mom, that she's dying, just laying in her bed, calling for me, and I can't get to her." I put my arm around her. "Your mom's fine. She's in good care at the facility. You talked to her Tuesday, remember?" "I know," Diane said. "I know that logically. But the dreams feel so real." We finished dinner, cleaned up, sat around the campfire drinking beer and playing cards until around 10, then everyone turned in for the night. I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the diary, about the deer, about the impossibility of someone predicting such specific, mundane details. Around 2 in the morning, I gave up on sleep and got out of bed quietly, trying not to wake Diane. I went to the small window near our dining table and looked outside. There was someone standing at the edge of the tree line. I couldn't make out features. It was too dark, and they were just beyond the reach of the light from the bathroom facility about 50 yards away. But there was definitely a human figure there, not moving, just standing, watching our campsite. I stared for maybe 30 seconds, my breath fogging the window. Then I blinked and the figure was gone, just empty darkness between the trees. I checked my watch. 2:47 a.m. I spent the rest of the night in the recliner, the diary on my lap, reading by the light of my phone. There were entries for the next 4 days, each one more detailed than the last, each one describing things that seemed impossible to predict. Small things mostly. What people would say, what they would do. Little moments that meant nothing to anyone but us. Saturday's entry described our visit to Alexander Springs, including the fact that Linda would lose her sunglasses in the water, and Tom would dive down to find them but come up empty-handed. It mentioned that Diane would see a snake on the shore and freeze up, even though the snake would already be moving away. It said I would buy a postcard at the visitor center but not send it to anyone. All of that happened. Every single detail. Sunday's entry was darker. It said Tom would go for a walk after dinner and not come back until well after midnight. When he returned, he would seem different, distracted. He would claim he just lost track of time, but Linda would sense something was wrong. The entry said I would hear Tom and Linda arguing in their RV late that night, though I wouldn't be able to make out the words. Monday's entry made my stomach turn. Tom is not Tom anymore. He looks the same, sounds the same, but something is missing. Linda notices it first. She will pull Diane aside and say she thinks Tom is having an affair, or maybe is sick with something he won't talk about. But that's not what's wrong with Tom. What's wrong with Tom is that Tom isn't there anymore. Something else is using his shape. Tuesday's entry was worse. Michael will show Diane the diary. She won't believe him at first, will think it's an elaborate joke or that he's having some kind of breakdown. But then Tom will do something that proves the diary is real. He will hurt Linda, not seriously enough to require a hospital, but enough to scare her, enough to change everything. Tom will apologize, will seem confused by his own actions, but it will happen again and again. Wednesday's entry was the last one with writing. It was just one sentence. They shouldn't have built the campground here. The rest of the pages were blank. Saturday unfolded exactly as predicted. We went to the springs. Linda lost her sunglasses. Diane saw the snake. I bought the postcard, a family photo of a manatee. I stood at the counter with a book of stamps in my hand and couldn't think of a single person I wanted to send it to. That night I couldn't eat dinner. I kept watching Tom, looking for signs that something was different about him, but he seemed fine. Maybe slightly quieter than usual. But Tom was always the type to have mood swings. He laughed at the right times, told the same kind of dumb jokes he always told. After dinner, he said he was going for a walk. "Want company?" Linda asked. "Nah, I just need to clear my head. Been sitting too much." He kissed her on the cheek and headed off down the trail with a flashlight. We played Scrabble, the three of us. Linda won, like she always did. Around 9:30, she started glancing at her watch. By 10, she was calling Tom's cell phone, but it went straight to voicemail. No signal this deep in the forest. "He probably just walked farther than he meant to," I said. "You know Tom. He gets focused on something and loses track of time." "He's been gone 3 hours, Michael." Diane gave me a look. "Maybe we should go look for him." I didn't want to. I wanted to stay in the safe circle of light from our camp. Wanted to pretend that the diary was wrong, that Tom would come back any minute with some reasonable explanation. But Linda was scared, and Diane was right. We got our flashlights and followed the trail. It was darker than I expected, the canopy blocking out most of the moonlight. Our beams cut through the blackness, picking out trees and underbrush and nothing else. We called Tom's name. Our voices sounded small. We walked for maybe 45 minutes before turning back. No sign of him. Linda was trying not to cry. "Should we call someone?" Diane asked when we got back to camp. "And say what?" I said. "That a grown man went for a walk and isn't back yet. They won't do anything until morning." We stayed up, keeping the fire going, waiting. Linda sat in one of our camp chairs with a blanket around her shoulders, not speaking. Around 12:30, we saw a flashlight beam coming up the trail. Tom emerged from the darkness, looking tired but uninjured. "Jesus Christ, Tom." Linda stood up so fast her chair tipped over. "Where the hell have you been?" "I'm sorry, I walked farther than I meant to. Lost track of time." He said it exactly the way the diary predicted he would. The exact words. "We were worried sick." "I know. I'm sorry. I just needed to think." "Think about what?" Tom looked at her, and for just a second I saw something in his expression that didn't match his words. Something flat and distant. Then it was gone. And he was Tom again, apologizing, hugging Linda, promising not to do it again. We all went to bed. I lay awake for a long time, listening to the sounds of the forest outside. Around 2 a.m, I heard voices from Tom and Linda's RV. Tom's low rumble, Linda's sharper tone, arguing about something. I couldn't make out the words, just the cadence of anger and defensiveness. The diary had been right about every single thing. Sunday, I woke up feeling like I hadn't slept at all. Diane was already up, making coffee. Tom and Linda were outside, sitting at the picnic table between our sites. Linda looked exhausted. Tom was reading something on his phone. "Morning," I said, trying to sound normal. Linda barely acknowledged me. Tom looked up and smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Morning, Mike. Sleep okay?" "Not really. You?" "Like a rock." Linda made a small sound, not quite a laugh, not quite a sob. "He's lying. We were up half the night." "Linda, no, Tom, don't." She turned to Diane and me. "Can I talk to you, Diane, privately?" They walked off toward the bathroom facilities, leaving me alone with Tom. He went back to his phone. I poured coffee and tried to think of something to say. "Everything okay with you two?" I finally asked. "She thinks I'm having an affair." Tom said it matter-of-factly without looking up. "Are you?" "No." He set his phone down and looked at me directly. "I'm not having an affair. I'm not sick. I'm not depressed. I just needed some time alone last night, and Linda's making it into this big thing." "You were gone for 3 hours, man. She was scared." "I know." He rubbed his face. "I know. I'll make it up to her." But there was something wrong with the way he said it, something too calculated, too rehearsed, like he was reading lines from a script he didn't fully understand. Diane came back alone. Linda's pretty upset, she told me quietly. She thinks something's wrong with Tom. Says he's been acting strange all weekend. Has he? I don't know. He seems fine to me. Maybe a little quiet. I wanted to tell her about the diary. Wanted to show her the entry for tomorrow, the one that said Tom would hurt Linda. But it seemed insane. She'd think I was losing it. Instead, I said, maybe we should cut the trip short. Head home early. We've only been here 3 days. I know, but is this about Tom? Michael, if they're having problems, that's between them. We can't just abandon our vacation because they had a fight. She was right. Of course she was right. But the diary sat in my backpack like a stone, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we needed to leave this place before Monday. That night, Tom seemed to be trying extra hard to act normal. He made jokes, helped Linda with dinner, asked about our plans for the next day. But I couldn't stop watching him, looking for signs of whatever the diary said was wrong. And the more I watched, the more I saw little things that felt off. The way he held his fork, the timing of his laughter, the fact that he'd blink 3 or 4 times in rapid succession, then not blink at all for a full minute. Small things. Maybe I was imagining them. After dinner, I pulled Diane aside. I need to show you something. We went into our RV and I got the diary out of my backpack. I showed her Friday's entry, then Saturday's. Walked her through every prediction that had come true. She read it carefully, her expression shifting from skepticism to confusion to something that might have been fear. Where did you get this? I found it. On the trail. Friday morning. This is someone messing with us. Tom, probably. He knows you like weird stuff, Tom didn't know I'd take that side path. Nobody did. And look at the details, Diane. The exact time I found it. The deer with the broken leg. Linda's sunglasses. How would anyone know those things ahead of time? I don't know. She flipped to Monday's entry, read it. Tom is not Tom anymore? What does that mean? I don't know. But look at Tuesday. She read it. Her hands started shaking. Michael, this is sick. This is someone's sick joke. It's not a joke. Everything in here has happened exactly as written, everything. So what are you saying? That this diary predicts the future? That's impossible. I know it's impossible, but it's happening anyway. She looked at me for a long time. What do you want to do? I want to leave tonight, pack up and go home. We can't just, yes we can. We tell Tom and Linda we have a family emergency. We leave. And then what? If this thing is real, if it actually predicts the future, leaving won't change it. Tuesday's entry will still happen. She was right. I knew she was right, but I couldn't stay here anymore. Couldn't spend another night in this forest waiting for the next prediction to come true. We'll tell them in the morning, Diane said finally. Say we got a call about my mom. They'll understand. That night I didn't sleep at all. I sat in the chair by the window watching the tree line, waiting for that figure to appear again. It never did. But around 3 in the morning, I heard something outside. Footsteps, slow and deliberate, circling our RV. I wanted to look out. Wanted to see who or what was out there, but I couldn't make myself move. The footsteps continued for maybe 5 minutes, then stopped. In the morning, I found a perfect circle of stones arranged around our campsite. Small white rocks, each one about the size of a golf ball, placed exactly 2 feet apart. They hadn't been there the night before. I kicked them apart before Diane woke up. We told Tom and Linda at breakfast that we needed to leave. Family emergency. Diane's mom. They were understanding, concerned, offered to come with us if we needed support. We declined, started packing up the RV. That's when things fell apart. Linda came over while Diane was inside and I was rolling up our awning. She looked terrible. Dark circles under her eyes, her hands shaking slightly. Michael, I need to talk to you. About Tom. What about him? Something's wrong. Something's really wrong. Last night after you guys went to bed, he hurt me. She pulled up her sleeve. There were bruises on her forearm, finger-shaped marks. dark purple against her pale skin. He grabbed me. We were arguing, and he just grabbed me and squeezed until I screamed. Then he let go and looked at his own hands like he didn't know what he'd done. He said it wasn't him, that he didn't mean to do it. My mouth went dry. Tuesday's entry. He will hurt Linda. You need to leave, I said. Come with us, right now. I can't just leave him here. Linda, listen to me. No, you listen. That's my husband. Something's wrong with him and I'm not abandoning him. I need you to help me figure out what's happening. I wanted to show her the diary, wanted to prove that I wasn't crazy, that I'd known this would happen. But what good would it do? The diary said it would happen again. Has he done anything else? Said anything strange? He keeps talking about the forest. Says he can hear it breathing. Says it's been waiting for us. She laughed, but it was a broken sound. He's scaring me, Michael. Tom appeared then, walking over from their RV. He looked normal, smiled at both of us. Hey, you guys need help packing? Linda stepped back from him, just a small movement, but he noticed. What's wrong? Nothing, Linda said. I was just talking to Michael about his mother-in-law. Tom looked at her arm, at the bruises she'd shown me. Something flickered across his face. Recognition, maybe, or guilt. I'm sorry about last night, he said quietly. I don't know what came over me. It's fine. It's not fine. I hurt you. I never... He stopped, shook his head. This place is getting to me. Maybe we should leave too, all of us. We're already packed, I said. You guys should come with us. We can all head out together. Tom nodded slowly. Yeah, okay, let me just pack up our stuff. Give me an hour. He walked back to their RV. Linda watched him go, her expression unreadable. We're leaving, she said, as soon as everything's packed. I don't care what he says. But we didn't leave, because while Tom and Linda were packing, while Diane was inside finishing our preparations, I went back to the clearing where I'd found the diary. I don't know why. Maybe I thought there would be another entry, something that would explain what was happening. Or maybe I just needed to see it one more time, needed to confirm it was real. The clearing looked different in the morning light. Smaller somehow, less ominous. The old camping gear was still scattered around, but now I could see other things I'd missed before. More stones arranged in patterns, symbols carved into tree bark. And in the center of the stump where the diary had been, there was a message scratched into the wood. Thank you for reading. Now you're part of it too. I ran back to camp. My heart was hammering. Tom and Linda's RV was still there, but I didn't see either of them outside. Diane was securing the last of our supplies. Is everything okay? She asked, seeing my face. We need to go. Right now. Michael. Right now, Diane. I'll explain in the car. Where are Tom and Linda? I think they're still packing, Tom said. A scream cut through the air. Linda's voice coming from their RV. I ran. Didn't think, just ran. Burst through their door to find Linda on the floor, blood streaming from her nose. Tom was standing over her, his hands raised like he was about to strike again, but he was crying. Tears streaming down his face even as his hands formed fists. I can't stop, he said. His voice was his own, but wrong somehow. Mechanical. I can't stop. It's making me. Tom, step back. I move between him and Linda. It's in my head, Mike, ever since that walk. It got in my head and it won't let me go. He looked at his hands like they belonged to someone else. You have to stop me, please, before I really hurt her. Linda was sobbing on the floor. I helped her up, got her outside. Diane was there, and I pushed Linda toward her. Get her in our RV, lock the door. Michael, just do it. I turned back to Tom. He was sitting on the floor now, his head in his hands. It's the forest, he said. It's alive. It's been alive this whole time, just waiting. And I let it in. What are you talking about? Sunday night. The walk. I went off the trail, found a cave. Something was inside. I thought it was a person at first, someone who needed help, but when I got close, He looked up at me and his eyes were wrong. The pupils too large, the whites threaded with thin black veins. It showed me things, Mike. Showed me what this place really is. What it wants. We're leaving. All of us. Right now. You can't leave. He said it with certainty. Once you've read the diary, you're part of it. It's already started with you too. That's not true. Check your hands. I looked down. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but with small involuntary spasms. Like something was testing the controls. It takes time, Tom said. Started with me Sunday night. I'd say you've got until tomorrow, maybe the day after. Then you won't be you anymore either. I backed toward the door. You're sick. You need help. I needed help 3 days ago. Now it's too late. I got out of the RV, slammed the door behind me. Diane and Linda were in our vehicle, Diane in the driver's seat with the engine running. I climbed in the passenger side. Drive, I said. What about Tom? He's not Tom anymore. Just drive. Diane pulled out, towing our RV toward the main road. I watched Tom and Linda's vehicle disappear behind us. In the side mirror, I could see Tom emerge from his RV. He just stood there watching us go. Not moving. Not waving. Just standing. We drove straight through to Atlanta. 15 hours with only brief stops for gas and food. Linda sat in the back, not speaking. When we finally pulled into our driveway just after midnight, she asked if she could stay with us. Her voice was small, broken. Of course, Diane said. We got Linda settled in the guest room, gave her something to help her sleep. Then Diane and I collapsed into bed, exhausted but too wired to actually rest. What happened back there? She asked. What was wrong with Tom? I don't know. It was the truth. I didn't know. The diary had predicted that Tom would hurt Linda, but it hadn't explained why. Hadn't warned me that the same thing might happen to me. My hands were still shaking, small tremors that I couldn't control. Michael, your hands, it's just stress, I'm fine. She didn't believe me. I could see it in her eyes. But she didn't push it. That was 3 weeks ago. Tom never came back from the forest. Linda filed a missing persons report, but the rangers who searched the area found nothing. His RV is still there, according to the last update. Empty. No sign of him anywhere. The shaking in my hands has gotten worse. It's spreading now, up my arms, into my shoulders. Sometimes I lose time. An hour here, 2 hours there. Diane says I go blank during those times. Just stare at nothing. When I come back, I have no memory of it. Yesterday, I found another diary. It was sitting on our kitchen counter when I woke up. Same black and white marble cover. Same blue ink. I opened it with shaking hands. The first entry was dated today. Michael knows he's changing. He can feel it happening, the way Tom felt it. Soon he won't be Michael anymore. He'll look the same, sound the same, but something else will be using his shape, using his memories, wearing his life like a costume. The second entry is dated tomorrow. Diane will notice. She'll try to help him, but it's too late. The forest doesn't let go once it has you. It's patient. It's been patient for a very long time. All it needs is for people to read the words, to become part of the story. There are more entries. I haven't read them all yet. I'm not sure I want to know. I'm writing this down now while I'm still me, while I still remember who I am and what happened, because soon I won't. Soon something else will be looking out through my eyes, speaking with my voice, living my life. Diane is sleeping in the next room. Linda is in the guest room downstairs. They're both safe for now. But the diary says that won't last. The diary says tomorrow I'll hurt Diane. The diary says I won't be able to stop myself. The diary is always right. I can hear something outside our window. Footsteps, slow and deliberate, circling the house. The same sound I heard that night in the forest. And I can hear something else too. A voice, low and rhythmic, like a chant or a prayer. It's coming from inside my own head. My hands aren't shaking anymore. They've stopped completely. They're waiting for instructions. I should wake Diane, should warn her, should tell her to take Linda and run far away from here. But I won't, because I'm already changing. I can feel it happening, like ice spreading through my veins, replacing everything I am with something else, something older, something patient. The forest doesn't need you to come to it, you just need to read the words, you just need to become part of the story. And once you're part of the story doesn't end. It just finds new readers. I'm going to leave this account somewhere it will be found, maybe in a drawer, maybe online, maybe just sitting on a table in a coffee shop. Somewhere a curious person will pick it up and read it. Because that's what the diary says happens next. It says someone will read my words. Someone will wonder if any of it is real, and then they'll start noticing small things, coincidences, patterns. Time will start to feel wrong. They'll lose hours without realizing it. And somewhere, in a forest they've never been to, a diary with their name on it will be waiting. My name is Michael Green. Or at least it used to be. Now I'm not sure who I am anymore, but I know what I am. I'm the story. The story that keeps spreading, keeps finding new people to tell it through. The forest found me, changed me, and now I'm doing what it needs me to do. What Tom did before me, what countless others have done before him. We're all part of it now, all part of the forest's long, patient hunger. And if you've read this far, if you've made it to the end of my account, then you are too. Check your hands. Are they shaking? Story 2. My name is Rachel Adams. This happened in June of 2019 at a campground called Pinewood RV Park, about 40 miles outside of Spokane, Washington. I'm writing this down because people keep asking me what happened to Jen, and I don't know how many more times I can say it out loud. There were 4 of us. Me, Jennifer Hale, Marcus Chen, and his girlfriend Sarah Winters. We'd all gone to college together, and this was supposed to be our first reunion trip since graduation 3 years earlier. Marcus had just gotten promoted at his firm in Seattle. Sarah was finishing her residency in Portland. Jen had moved back to Spokane to help her mom after her dad died. I was teaching middle school English in Tacoma and desperately needed a break. The RV was Marcus's idea. He'd bought it the month before, a 2015 Winnebago, 26 feet, decent condition except for some water damage around the back window. He was proud of it in that way men get proud of vehicles they probably overpaid for. Sarah had rolled her eyes when she told me about it over the phone, but she sounded happy. They seemed good together. We met at the campground on a Thursday afternoon. The place was half empty, which surprised me for early June. The woman at the check-in office was probably 70, with reading glasses on a chain and a sweater despite the heat. She took Marcus's information and didn't say much beyond directing us to spot 37, which was on the east loop, backing up to the tree line. The spot was level, which Marcus appreciated. He spent 20 minutes getting the RV positioned exactly right while the rest of us unloaded coolers and camping chairs. Jen had brought enough food to feed 10 people. Sarah had brought wine. I'd brought books I knew I wouldn't read, and a portable speaker that stayed in my bag the entire time. That first evening was good. We grilled hamburgers on the campground's fire pit. Marcus told stories about his boss, an older partner who apparently didn't understand how email worked. Sarah talked about a patient who'd come into the ER convinced he'd been poisoned by his neighbor's cat. Jen was quieter than I remembered her being in college, but she laughed at the right moments and asked questions that kept the conversation moving. It got dark around 9:30. The campground had those orange security lights spaced every 100 feet or so, but they didn't reach our spot very well. The trees blocked most of the ambient light. Marcus had strung up some LED lanterns around the awning, and we sat in that bubble of brightness while the forest pressed in around us. "It's really dark out here," Sarah said at one point. She was looking past the lanterns toward the trees. "That's kind of the point," Marcus said. He was on his 3rd beer and in an expansive mood. "I know. It's just darker than I expected." I knew what she meant. It wasn't the absence of light so much as the presence of something else. The darkness felt thick, almost textured. When I looked toward the trees, I couldn't distinguish individual trunks beyond the first few feet. Everything merged into a solid black wall. There's supposed to be a trail back there, Jen said. The woman at the office mentioned it. Loops around for about 3 miles. We should hike it tomorrow, Marcus said. Nobody responded to that. We'd all driven several hours to get here, and I think we were all feeling the specific exhaustion that comes from traveling, and then immediately trying to relax in an unfamiliar place. We stayed up until midnight, which felt late, but probably wasn't. I was in the middle of telling a story about one of my students when the first rumble of thunder rolled across the sky. Shit, Marcus said. I didn't check the weather. The storm came on fast. We'd barely gotten inside the RV when the rain started, heavy drops that sounded like gravel on the aluminum roof. The wind picked up, rocking the RV slightly on its suspension. Marcus went around checking windows while Sarah helped Jen pack away the food we'd left outside. I stood at the back window watching the storm. The lightning was constant, bright enough to throw stark shadows of the trees against the ground. During one flash, I saw how close the forest actually was, maybe 20 feet from the RV's rear bumper. In the next moment of darkness, those 20 feet felt like nothing at all. This is intense, Sarah said. She'd come to stand beside me. The thunder was nearly continuous now, less like individual claps and more like a sustained roar. Between strikes, I could hear the rain hammering the roof, and the wind making the whole vehicle shudder. Then the lightning hit something close. Close enough that the thunder was immediate, a physical force that I felt in my chest. The lights in the RV flickered and went out. In the sudden darkness, someone yelped. I think it was Jen. Everyone okay? Marcus's voice tight with adrenaline. Yeah, I said. Sarah echoed me. Jen? I'm fine. Jesus Christ, that was close. Marcus fumbled with his phone, using the flashlight to navigate to the breaker panel. I'll try to reset it, but we might be out until morning if something's actually fried. He flipped switches while the rest of us stood in the dark, phones out, casting weird overlapping shadows. The lights didn't come back on. Might be the campground's electrical, he said. Could be they lost power. We looked out the windows, the other RVs in sight. There were maybe 3 or 4 visible. We're also dark. Nothing we can do about it tonight, Sarah said. Let's just sleep. The sleeping arrangements were awkward. Marcus and Sarah took the bedroom in the back. Jen got the fold-out couch in the living area. I'd brought a sleeping bag and claimed the floor space beside her. It wasn't comfortable, but I'd slept in worse places. The storm continued for another hour. I lay in my sleeping bag listening to the rain and the wind and the creaking of the RV. At some point I dozed off. I woke to voices, not conversation, just fragments, words without context. I heard Marcus say something about coffee, then Sarah's voice, too distant to make out, a laugh that might have been Jen's. I opened my eyes. The RV was still dark. Rain still fell, lighter now, a steady patter rather than a downpour. I checked my phone. 4:47 a.m. Can't believe you didn't check. Sarah's voice, clearer now. I said I was sorry. Marcus defensive. I started to sit up to ask what they were arguing about when I realized something. Their voices were coming from outside. I lay still, listening. Sarah said something else, too muffled to understand. Marcus responded. They seemed to be having a conversation, but I couldn't imagine why they'd be outside in the rain at nearly 5 in the morning. I unzipped my sleeping bag as quietly as possible and moved to the window. The rain had left everything coated in water that reflected what little light came from the cloudy sky. I could see the tree line, the picnic table, the dead fire pit. I couldn't see Marcus or Sarah, but I could still hear them. Don't even know where we are. Sarah's voice floating from somewhere in the darkness. We're at the campground, Marcus irritated. Same place we fell asleep. Their voices seemed to come from different directions. Sarah's from the left, near the trees. Marcus's from somewhere to the right, past where our car was parked. I stood at the window for several minutes waiting for them to come into view. They never did. Their conversation continued, fragments and pauses, words that almost made sense but didn't quite form a coherent exchange. Then Jen spoke and I nearly screamed. Rachel? Are you awake? Her voice came from behind me. I turned. She was sitting up on the couch, hair messed from sleep, looking at me with groggy confusion. "I'm awake," I said. My mouth felt dry. "Did you hear that?" she asked. "Hear what?" "The voices. Marcus and Sarah. They're outside," I said, even though I wasn't sure that was true anymore. Jen got up and joined me at the window. We stood there together, looking out at the wet darkness. The voices had stopped. "Maybe they went for a walk," Jen said, but she didn't sound convinced. We waited. Nothing moved outside. The rain continued its steady rhythm on the roof. "Should we check on them?" I asked. Before Jen could answer, the bedroom door opened. Marcus emerged, squinting in the darkness, wearing boxer shorts and a t-shirt. "What's going on?" he asked. His voice was thick with sleep. I looked at Jen. She looked at me. "We heard you outside," Jen said. "You and Sarah." "I've been asleep," Marcus said. He looked past us toward the window, then back at the bedroom. "Sarah's still in bed." My skin prickled. "We both heard you. You were having a conversation." "I'm telling you, I was asleep until just now." He moved past us to the window, looking out. "What did you hear?" "Your voices," I said. "Sarah was talking about not knowing where we were." "You said we were at the campground." Marcus stared at me. In the dim light from our phones, his face looked strange, almost unfamiliar. "I didn't say that." "Then who did?" Jen asked. None of us had an answer to that. Sarah emerged from the bedroom a few minutes later, woken by our voices. She confirmed she'd been asleep. Marcus told her what Jen and I had heard. She listened with her arms crossed, frowning. "You probably dreamed it," she said to me. "Thunder can cause weird dreams." "Jen heard it too," I pointed out. Sarah looked at Jen. "Did you actually hear words or just voices?" Jen hesitated. I thought I heard you guys talking." "There you go," Sarah said. "Suggestion. Rachel woke up, thought she heard something, and said something that made you think you heard it too. It was a rational explanation. I wanted to believe it, but I knew what I'd heard. And the memory of those voices, perfectly clear, perfectly normal, coming from nowhere, made something cold settle in my stomach. We didn't go back to sleep. Marcus tried the electrical again. Still nothing. We sat in the RV as the sky slowly lightened, drinking warm beer because the fridge wasn't working, not talking much. Around 7, Marcus and I walked to the check-in office. It was open, the old woman behind the desk working on a crossword puzzle. "Power's out," Marcus said. "I know," she said without looking up. "Any idea when it'll be back?" "Could be today, could be tomorrow. Storm knocked out a transformer somewhere up the line. They're working on it." "Is there somewhere we can charge our phones?" She gestured to an outlet behind the desk. "You can use that one, but there's no cell service out here anyway, storm or no storm." I'd noticed that. My phone had shown 1 bar when we arrived, but by evening it had dropped to nothing. I'd assumed it was just the location, deep in the forest, surrounded by hills. Now I wondered if the storm had knocked out a tower. "There's a payphone outside if you need to make a call," the woman added. "A payphone," Marcus repeated. "That's right." We charged our phones for an hour, sitting in the musty office while the woman did her crossword and occasionally helped other campers who came in with questions or complaints. Most were checking out. The storm and the power outage had dampened their enthusiasm. When we got back to the RV, Jen and Sarah were outside. They'd gotten the fire pit going and were attempting to make coffee in a pot balanced on the grate. It was a nice morning, cool and damp, with mist hanging in the trees. "We should hike that trail," Sarah said. "Get out of here for a while." I wasn't enthusiastic, but I didn't have a better idea. We ate granola bars for breakfast, packed some water and snacks, and followed the trail marker into the woods. The path was clear enough, marked with small wooden posts every 50 feet or so. It wound through thick stands of pine and fir, occasionally opening onto small clearings. Everything was wet from the storm, the ground soft, branches dripping. We walked in a line, Marcus leading, then Sarah, Then Jen, with me bringing up the rear. Nobody talked much. The forest was quiet. No birds, no wind. Just the sound of our feet on the muddy trail and water dripping from the trees. About a mile in, Marcus stopped. "Did you hear that?" We all froze, listening. "Hear what?" Sarah asked. Someone said something. "I didn't hear anything, Jen said. We stood there for a full minute. Nothing but the drip, drip, drip of water. "Must have been a bird or something, Marcus said, but he looked uneasy. We kept walking. The trail climbed steadily uphill, our breathing getting heavier. My legs were already tired. I wasn't in good shape for this. Then I heard it. My own voice, faint but distinct, coming from somewhere off the trail to my left. "Don't know what happened to her." I stopped walking. Jen bumped into me. "Rachel?" I held up a hand for her to be quiet. We listened. My voice came again. Same words. Same inflection. "Don't know what happened to her." "Did you guys hear that?" I asked. Marcus and Sarah had stopped ahead of us. They turned back. "Hear what?" Sarah asked. My voice, saying. I trailed off, realizing how crazy it sounded. "What did it say?" Jen asked. She looked frightened. I repeated the words. "I don't know what happened to her." "Who's her?" Marcus asked. "I don't know, it was just, that's what it said." Sarah crossed her arms. "This again." "I heard it," I insisted. "Echoes," Sarah said. "Sound carries weird in forests. Maybe you said something earlier and it's bouncing around or something." "That's not how echoes work," Marcus said. "Then what is it?" Sarah's voice was sharp. Nobody answered. We stood on the trail, the four of us, looking at each other and not quite making eye contact. "Let's keep going," Jen finally said. We walked for another 20 minutes. The trail leveled out, following the contour of a hillside. Through the trees to our right, I could see down into a valley thick with forest, no signs of roads or buildings. That's when Sarah heard it. She stopped suddenly, her hand coming up. "Wait." Her voice, distant but clear, drifted through the trees. "We should go back." We all heard it this time. No possibility of imagination or suggestion. It was Sarah's voice, exact in tone and cadence, coming from somewhere ahead on the trail. "What the fuck?" Marcus said quietly. Sarah's face had gone pale. "That's not me." The voice came again. "We should go back." Same words, same delivery, like a recording played on loop. "We're going back," Jen said. She was already turning around. "Wait," Marcus said, but there wasn't much conviction in it. "No," Sarah said. "She's right. Something's wrong here." We retraced our steps, moving faster now, not quite running, but close. My heart hammered in my chest. The trail seemed longer than before. Every sound made me flinch. Branches creaking, water dripping, our own footsteps. We were maybe halfway back when we heard Jen's voice ahead of us. "I can't find the trail." But Jen was right behind me. I could hear her breathing, ragged and scared. "I can't find the trail." The voice repeated, coming from around a bend in the path. We stopped. For a long moment, nobody moved. "This is fucked," Marcus said. "Let's just get back to the RV," I said. "We can figure this out there." We kept moving, faster now. The voices continued, appearing randomly from different directions, fragments of conversations we hadn't had yet or had had hours ago or would have tomorrow. Marcus's voice talking about leaving, Sarah asking where I'd gone, my voice saying Jen's name over and over. By the time we reached the campground, we were practically running. The RV looked exactly as we'd left it. The fire still smoldered in the pit. Our camping chairs sat in a circle under the awning. Everything normal. Everything wrong. We went inside and locked the door, which was absurd but felt necessary. "What the hell is happening?" Jen asked. She was crying, tears running down her face without sound. "I don't know," I said. Marcus was pacing in the small space, 3 steps one way, 3 steps back. "It's like like something is recording us and playing it back. Playing it back wrong, Sarah added. She sat on the couch, her hands shaking. We should leave, Jen said. Just pack up and leave. The RV needs electrical hookup to charge the house battery, Marcus said, and the power's out. We won't have lights and the engine battery is probably low from running the radio yesterday. So we're trapped, Jen said. We're not trapped, Sarah said, but she didn't sound sure. We spent the rest of the day in the RV. We tried to stay rational to find explanations. Maybe it was some kind of military experiment. Maybe the storm had done something to the atmosphere. Maybe we'd all been exposed to something in the water. Every theory sounded more ridiculous than the last. The voices continued. Randomly, unpredictably, sometimes minutes would pass with nothing. Then suddenly one of our voices would echo from outside, saying something mundane or strange or terrifying. Around 4 p.m., Marcus decided to walk to the check-in office. I'm going to use the payphone, he said. Call someone. Tell them what's happening. Who are you going to call? Sarah asked. I don't know. The police? The park service? And tell them what? That the forest is talking in our voices? You have a better idea? She didn't. Marcus left. We watched him walk across the campground toward the main road. He looked small and alone, a single figure against the vast backdrop of trees. 20 minutes passed, then 30, then an hour. He should be back by now, Sarah said. She'd been tracking time on her phone. Maybe he had to wait for the office to open, I suggested, though I wasn't sure what hours they kept. Maybe. We waited. The sun tracked across the sky, sinking toward the trees. Shadows grew longer. At 6 p.m., Sarah stood up. I'm going to look for him. Don't, Jen said. Something's wrong. You know something's wrong. He's my boyfriend, Sarah said. I can't just sit here. I wanted to argue, but I understood. I'll come with you. No, Jen said. Don't leave me alone. Then come with us, I said. I can't. She was crying again. I can't go back out there. Sarah and I looked at each other. Without speaking, we came to an agreement. We'd go together. Jen would stay in the RV with the doors locked. If we're not back in an hour, Sarah said, I don't know. Do something. Jen nodded, still crying. Outside, the evening air was cool and damp. The sun sat low on the horizon, painting everything in shades of gold and shadow. The campground was quiet. Most of the other RVs had left. I could see maybe 3 still parked in distant spots, but no signs of people. We walked toward the check-in office, following the loop road. Our footsteps crunched on gravel. Neither of us spoke. The office was closed, a sign hanging in the window. Back in 30 minutes. But the lights were off, and when I cupped my hands to look through the glass, I couldn't see anyone inside. The payphone hung on the outside wall. Sarah picked up the receiver, listened, then hung up. Dead, she said. We looked around. The campground stretched out in both directions, loops and spurs of RV spots disappearing into the trees. No sign of Marcus. No sign of anyone. Marcus, Sarah called. Her voice echoed back wrong, the syllables jumbled. Marcus, the echo said, turning his name into something hissing and long. Sarah's face went tight. Let's check the bathrooms. We walked to the shower building, a concrete structure with peeling paint. The door stood open. Inside, the smell of mildew and bleach. Empty stalls, silent showers. No Marcus. Where the hell is he? Sarah said. We searched for another 20 minutes, calling his name, checking every building and behind every parked RV. Nothing. The sun was nearly down when we made our way back to our spot. The walk felt different in the fading light. The trees pressed closer. The shadows moved wrong, independent of the breeze. When we rounded the corner to spot 37, we both stopped. Marcus stood beside the RV. Relief flooded through me so intensely I felt dizzy. Sarah ran toward him. Where were you? We've been looking everywhere for... She stopped mid-sentence, maybe 10 feet from him. I caught up, breathing hard. Marcus, what happened? Did you make the call? He didn't answer. He just stood there facing the RV, completely still. Marcus? Sarah's voice was quiet now, uncertain. He turned to look at us. His movements were smooth but somehow wrong, like a video played at slightly the wrong speed. When he smiled, it was Marcus's smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. I couldn't find the office, what he said. His voice was flat, affectless. Yes, you did, Sarah said. We just came from there. It's closed, but we saw it. I couldn't find it, he repeated. Same words, same flat tone. Sarah took a step back. What's wrong with you? Marcus tilted his head, still smiling. Nothing's wrong. I'm back now. Where did you go? I asked. Into the trees, he said. I heard someone calling. I thought it was you. We didn't call you, Sarah said. Someone did. His smile widened. They said my name, over and over. Marcus, Marcus, Marcus. The repetition made my skin crawl. This wasn't Marcus. Something was using his face, his voice, but the person inside was gone or buried or replaced. We need to go inside, I said to Sarah. Now. Marcus. Come inside with us, Sarah said. She was trying to keep her voice steady. He didn't move. I like it out here. It's quiet. Please, Sarah said. You should come out here with me, Marcus said. It's better out here. No, I said. I grabbed Sarah's arm and pulled her toward the RV. She resisted for a moment, then let me guide her. At the door, we both looked back. Marcus still stood in the same spot, smiling, watching us. As we climbed the steps, he raised one hand in a slow wave. Inside, Jen sat on the couch, hugging her knees. She looked up when we entered. Where's Marcus? She asked. Outside, Sarah said. Her voice was shaking. Why isn't he coming in? Because he's not Marcus anymore, I said. Jen stared at me. What? We told her what happened. With each detail, her face grew paler. When we finished, she got up and went to the window. He's still there, she said. Just standing. We all looked. Marcus, or the thing wearing Marcus, stood exactly where we'd left him. As we watched, he turned in a slow circle, his head tilted up as if studying the sky. We have to leave, Jen said. Right now. Even without the battery charged. We just drive. The engine battery might not turn over, Sarah said. Marcus said, fuck what Marcus said, Jen snapped. That's not Marcus. She was right. We gathered what we could, phones, wallets, water bottles. Sarah grabbed the keys from where Marcus had left them on the counter. What if he tries to stop us? Jen asked. We go around him, I said. Don't talk to him. Don't touch him. Just get in the car. The car, Sarah's Honda, was parked about 20 feet from the RV. We'd have to pass close to where Marcus stood, but not too close. It was doable. We opened the RV door as quietly as possible. Marcus didn't turn around. He was still looking at the sky, his head bent at an angle that would hurt a normal person's neck. We climbed down the steps. The gravel crunched under our feet. Marcus rotated toward the sound, his movement still wrong, too smooth. Leaving? He asked. We didn't answer. We moved as a group toward the car, keeping our distance from him. You can't leave, he said. His voice had changed, deeper now with something underneath it. Not yet. Sarah unlocked the car with the key fob. The chirp sounded impossibly loud in the quiet evening. Marcus took a step toward us. Get in, I said. We scrambled for the doors. I got in the back seat with Jen. Sarah dove into the driver's seat and jammed the key into the ignition. Marcus was walking toward us now, not hurrying, but purposeful. Start the car, Jen said. Please start the car. Sarah turned the key. The engine cranked once, twice. Didn't catch. Come on, she said through clenched teeth. Marcus was 10 feet away. She turned the key again. The engine caught, rumbled to life. She threw it into reverse and hit the gas. We shot backward, tires spraying gravel. Marcus lunged forward, his hand slapping against the passenger window. The impact left a smear of something dark on the glass. Sarah cranked the wheel, putting the car into drive. We fishtailed on the loose gravel, then straightened out, accelerating toward the campground exit. I looked back through the rear window. Marcus stood in the middle of the road, watching us go. Even from a distance, I could see his smile. We made it to the main road and turned toward what we hoped was civilization. The road was narrow, winding through dense forest. The headlights carved tunnels through the darkness. "Is he following?" Sarah asked, eyes on the rearview mirror. I turned to look. The road behind us was empty. "No," I said. "Where's the nearest town?" Jen asked. "I don't know," Sarah said. 40 miles, maybe less. We drove in silence. The road seemed to go on forever, nothing but trees and more trees. No other cars, no lights, just the endless stretch of asphalt and our headlights pushing back the darkness. After maybe 20 minutes, Sarah spoke. "Why does this feel wrong?" "What do you mean?" I asked. "The road. We came in from the north, right? This should be taking us back that way." "It is," Jen said. "Then why does it feel like we're going deeper?" I looked out the window. The trees pressed closer to the road here, branches overhanging, creating a tunnel effect. It did feel wrong, like we were descending rather than climbing out. "Maybe we took a wrong turn," I suggested. "There haven't been any turns," Sarah said. She was right. The road had been straight, or as straight as a forest road ever is. No intersections, no side roads. Just this single ribbon of asphalt running through the dark. "We should see something soon," Jen said. "A house, a gas station, something." We didn't. Another 10 minutes passed. Then Sarah slowed the car. "What's wrong?" I asked. She pointed ahead. The road ended. Not at an intersection or a gate, but simply ended. The asphalt stopped, giving way to dirt and grass, and beyond that, trees. "That's not possible," Jen said. Sarah pulled the car to a stop. We sat there, engine idling, staring at the impossible dead end. "We'll turn around," Sarah said. She sounded like she was trying to convince herself. "Go back to the campground. Take the other direction." She started to execute a 3-point turn in the narrow road. That's when the headlights swept across the trees and we saw them. Figures, standing among the trunks. Dozens of them, watching. They looked human from a distance. But as the headlights moved and shadows shifted, I caught details that didn't fit. Limbs too long, heads tilted at wrong angles, mouths that opened too wide. "Drive," I said. "Just drive." Sarah completed the turn, flooring it back the way we came. The figures didn't move. They just watched as we fled. The drive back felt faster. The road that had seemed endless now flew past. Within minutes, we saw the entrance to the campground. Sarah didn't slow down. She drove past it. "What are you doing?" Jen asked. "We can't go back there," Sarah said. "But the other direction doesn't go anywhere. You saw it." We continued on. The road stretched ahead, still winding, still empty. Time became hard to track. My phone said it was 8:30, then 9, then 10. The numbers didn't feel real. Around what my phone claimed was 11 p.m., we saw lights ahead. Actual electric lights glowing warm and yellow. "Thank God," Sarah said. As we got closer, the lights resolved into shapes. Buildings, a gas station, a diner, a small cluster of civilization in the forest. Sarah pulled into the gas station and parked next to a pump. We sat there for a moment, not moving, not speaking. The normalcy of the place felt like a hallucination. "Should we get out?" Jen asked. "I think we have to," I said. We climbed out of the car. The air felt different here, warmer, more humid. The gas station looked old but maintained, the kind of place that had been standing since the 50s and would probably be here in another 50 years. A bell chimed as we pushed through the door. Inside, fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Aisles of snacks and automotive supplies. A counter with a register. Behind it, a man in his 60s wearing a flannel shirt. "Evening," he said. He had a kind face, weathered and lined. "Hi," Sarah said. Her voice sounded strange, too loud after the long silence. "You folks lost?" "We're trying to get to Spokane," I said. "We were camping at Pinewood RV Park." His expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. "Pinewood, that's about 20 miles back." "We know," Jen said, "but the road. Something's wrong with the road." "Wrong how?" We tried to explain. The dead end, the figures, how the road seemed to loop. He listened without interrupting. When we finished, he nodded slowly. "The storm do this?" he asked. "We don't know," Sarah said. "Maybe. It started after the storm." He reached under the counter and pulled out a road map, unfolding it on the surface. His finger traced a line. "This is where you are. Pinewood's here. The road should go straight through, no dead ends." "But it does," I insisted. "We drove to the end." "I believe you," he said. "But that doesn't change what should be there." "Can you help us?" Sarah asked, "and we need to get out of here. Something's wrong at that campground." "Wrong," he repeated, as if tasting the word. "Yes, I expect something is wrong." He folded the map and slid it across the counter toward us. "Take this. Head east from here. Don't go back to Pinewood. You understand? Don't go back." "Where will east take us?" I asked. "Eventually somewhere else. Might take a while." "How long is a while?" He smiled, and it wasn't comforting. "Depends on what's following you." We left the gas station with the map and a sense of dread that felt like stones in my stomach. The man's words echoed in my head. "Depends on what's following you." We got back in the car. Sarah studied the map under the dome light. "East is back the way we came. We have to go past the campground entrance." "He said don't go back," Jen reminded her. "I know. We won't turn in. We'll just drive past." It took 10 minutes to reach the campground entrance. As we approached, I could see our RV from the road, illuminated by someone's exterior lights. A figure stood beside it. Marcus, or what used to be Marcus. He was facing the road, his head tracking our car as we passed. Through the window, I saw his smile. Then he waved. We drove on, past the campground, following the road east. It climbed into the hills, switchbacking through the forest. The trees here were older, taller, their trunks massive and dark. "The road looks different," Jen said. She was right. The asphalt had given way to packed dirt. I didn't remember it changing, it had just was. "Should we turn around?" Sarah asked. "And go where?" I said. We continued. The road narrowed, became rougher. Branches scraped the sides of the car. We were barely moving now, Sarah navigating carefully around rocks and ruts. Then ahead, we saw lights again. Not electric this time. Firelight. A campfire burning in a small clearing beside the road. Sarah stopped the car. We stared at the fire. Someone sat beside it, a dark shape against the flames. "We should go around," Jen said. "There's no room," Sarah said. The road here was hemmed in by trees on both sides, barely wide enough for the car. "So we turn around. And go back to Marcus?" Nobody had a good answer to that. The figure beside the fire stood up, walked toward the car. As they got closer, the firelight revealed features. A woman, maybe 40, wearing jeans and a jacket. She stopped a few feet from the driver's side window. Sarah cracked it open. "You folks lost?" the woman asked. Her voice was normal, concerned, human. "We're trying to find the highway," Sarah said. "You're pretty far off track. This road doesn't go anywhere useful." "We were told to go east," I said from the back seat. The woman peered past Sarah, looking at me. "East? Who told you that?" "A man at a gas station." "What gas station?" "Back that way, about half an hour." She was quiet for a moment. Then, "There's no gas station back that way, not for 60 miles. My stomach dropped. "But we were just there," Sarah said. "We talked to a man. He gave us a map." "Let me see it." Sarah handed the map through the window. The woman unfolded it, held it up to catch the firelight. Her frown deepened. "This map is wrong," she said. "These roads, half of them don't exist, and Pinewood RV Park closed 15 years ago." "That's where we were camping," Jen said. "We checked in yesterday." The woman handed the map back. "I don't know what to tell you, but if I were you, I'd turn this car around and get back to the main road. Don't trust anyone you meet out here. Don't follow directions from strangers." "What's happening?" I asked. "Please, if you know something." "I don't know," she said. "But these woods do strange things sometimes, especially after big storms. People get lost. Roads go places they shouldn't. You need to get out while you can." "How?" Sarah asked. The woman pointed back the way we'd come. "Turn around, go west. Don't stop at Pinewood. Don't stop anywhere, just drive until you hit the highway." "What about the dead end?" I asked. "What dead end?" "The road west ends. We saw it." The woman's face went pale. "Then you're in deeper than I thought. Listen carefully. When you reach that dead end, get out of the car, walk into the trees, find the trail. There's always a trail. Follow it until you see daylight. Don't look back, don't listen to voices. And if you see anyone you know, anyone at all, it's not them. Understand?" We nodded, not understanding at all. "Go," she said. "Now." Sarah didn't argue. She executed a careful 3-point turn and started back west. When I looked through the rear window, the woman and her fire had vanished. The clearing was dark and empty. We drove in silence. The road improved, dirt becoming gravel, gravel becoming asphalt. We passed the campground entrance. Marcus still stood by the RV. This time he didn't wave. 10 minutes later, we reached the dead end. The road stopped just as before, asphalt giving way to grass and trees. Sarah turned off the engine. "I guess we walk." We got out of the car. The forest pressed close, dark and deep. I couldn't see any trail, couldn't see anything but trees and shadows. "Which way?" Jen asked. "Straight ahead," I said, because that's what the woman had implied. "Into the trees. Find the trail." We walked into the forest. Within 10 steps, the car disappeared behind us, swallowed by darkness. We used our phones for light, the beams cutting weak pathways through the trees. I don't know how long we walked. It could have been minutes or hours. Time felt broken here, like the road, like the maps. We moved through a world that didn't follow normal rules. Then Jen found the trail. A narrow dirt path, barely visible, winding between the trees. "This way," she said. We followed it. The path climbed steadily upward. My legs burned, my lungs ached. But I kept moving because stopping felt dangerous in a way I couldn't articulate. Then we heard the voices. Our voices. Sarah's voice came from ahead. "Keep going." Marcus's voice from behind. "Don't leave me." Jen's voice from everywhere. "I can't find the trail." My own voice, speaking words I'd said hours ago or days ago or would say tomorrow. "Something's wrong with the road." We walked faster. The voices grew louder, overlapping, creating a cacophony of echoes and whispers and screams. I put my hands over my ears, but I could still hear them, could still hear myself begging and crying and laughing. Through the trees ahead, I saw light, not firelight or electric light, but daylight, dawn breaking through the branches. "There!" I shouted. We ran. The voices chased us, a chorus of our own fear and desperation given sound. Behind us, I heard footsteps, heavy, multiple, getting closer. The light grew brighter. We burst through the tree line and we were standing on a paved road. A real road, with lane markings and a guardrail. Beyond it, a valley spread out under the rising sun. In the distance, I could see a town, buildings and streets and the promise of normalcy. Sarah bent over, hands on her knees, gasping. Jen was crying. I just stood there, looking back at the forest. The trees looked ordinary in the daylight. Just trees. Nothing moving, nothing watching. The voices had stopped. "Did that actually happen?" Jen asked. None of us answered. A car appeared on the road, heading toward us. It slowed, stopped. An elderly couple looked out with concern. "You girls okay?" the man asked. "Car trouble?" "We got lost," Sarah said. "We were camping and got lost." "Where's your vehicle?" "Back there." Sarah gestured vaguely toward the forest. "We had to walk." The couple exchanged glances. The woman spoke up. "There's no campground back there, just wilderness. Closest one is about 50 miles north." "We were at Pinewood," I said. "Pinewood?" The man frowned. "Pinewood burned down years ago. Whole place. Some kind of electrical fire during a storm. Nobody goes back there." We stood on the side of the road looking at these nice normal people in their nice normal car, and I didn't know what to say. How do you explain that you spent the night in a place that doesn't exist, running from something that wore your friend's face? The couple gave us a ride to the town, a small place called Riverside. They dropped us at a diner and we called Jen's mom to come get us. While we waited, we tried to piece together what happened. "Marcus is still there," Sarah said at one point. She hadn't stopped crying since we got in the couple's car. Or something that looks like Marcus. "We don't know that," I said, but I did know it. We all did. Jen's mom arrived around noon. She hugged us all, asked questions we couldn't answer, and drove us back to Spokane. We filed a missing person report for Marcus. Told the police we'd gotten separated, that he'd wandered off and we couldn't find him. They said they'd search, but I could tell they thought we were hiding something. The search teams found the campground, or what was left of it. Burned ruins, just like the old couple had said. They found our RV, or what looked like our RV. It was rusted, ancient, like it had been sitting there for decades. The serial number didn't match. The license plate was from 1987. They never found Marcus. That was 4 months ago. I'm writing this because Sarah disappeared last week. She'd been getting worse since we got back, not sleeping, not eating, saying she could still hear the voices. Her roommate said she left in the middle of the night and didn't come back. Jen won't talk to me anymore. When I call, she hangs up. Once, before she blocked my number, she told me it was my fault for suggesting the camping trip. Maybe she's right. I still hear the voices sometimes. Usually at night when I'm alone in my apartment. My own voice, echoing from somewhere I can't locate, saying things I don't remember saying. Sometimes it tells me things that haven't happened yet. Sometimes it just calls my name. Last night, I heard Marcus. His voice came through the wall of my bedroom asking where Sarah went. I didn't answer. I lay in bed with my eyes open, waiting for morning, trying not to listen. The voice asked again, "Where did Sarah go?" I think it already knows. I think it's been waiting for her to come back, just like it's waiting for me. I don't know how long I can keep ignoring it. The worst part is, sometimes when I'm talking to people, at work, at the grocery store, anywhere, I catch them giving me this look, like they heard something in my voice that shouldn't be there, like something else is speaking through me, something that learned my words and is using them wrong. I bought a voice recorder last week. I've been recording myself, listening back, trying to catch whatever they're hearing. Most of the time it sounds normal, but sometimes there's this echo underneath my words. Faint, but there. My voice layered with something else, syllables bleeding together. Yesterday I recorded myself saying, "I'm okay," and when I played it back, the echo said, "Come back. I don't think I'm going to make it much longer. I can feel the pull, like the forest is a magnet and I'm made of iron. Every day it gets stronger. I dream about the campground, about walking into those trees. In the dreams, Marcus is waiting. Sarah is waiting. Even Jen is there, though I know she's still alive. I think she's still alive. They're all smiling, standing at the edge of the tree line. When I ask them what happened, they say the same thing. We came back. I'm writing this down so there's a record, so if I disappear, someone will know what happened. Though I'm not sure that helps anyone. If you're reading this and you're planning to go camping in the forests around Spokane, don't. If you're already there and you hear a storm coming, leave. And if you start hearing voices, your own voice echoing back wrong, run. Don't wait to understand it. Don't try to explain it. Just run. And don't stop running until you hit pavement and lights and people who don't look at you like they hear something you don't. I don't think I'm going to run. I think tonight, when the voice calls me again, I'm going to answer. I think I'm going to go back. After all, Marcus and Sarah are waiting, and something in those trees knows my name. It's been calling me for months now, patient and persistent. It knows I'll come eventually. Everyone comes back. The echo always catches up. Story 3. My name is Dean Harper. I live off-grid in northern Idaho, about 40 miles from the nearest town, in what used to be an RV camping site near the Salmon River. 2 weeks ago, something started watching me, and it wore a man's face. I need to write this down while I still remember what's real, while I can still tell the difference. I bought the property 3 years ago, 5 acres with an old concrete pad where someone had run a small RV park back in the 70s. The place went under when they built the highway 20 miles east. By the time I found it, the office was a rotted shell, and the hookup posts were rusted through. Perfect for someone who wanted to disappear. I'm not running from the law or anything dramatic like that. I just got tired. Tired of people, tired of noise, tired of pretending I gave a shit about quarterly reports and traffic, and the couple in the apartment above mine who fought every Thursday night like clockwork. My sister called it a breakdown. I called it clarity. I sold everything, bought a 30-foot Airstream, and drove until I found this place. The realtor, a guy named Chuck who smelled like cigarettes and showed up in a pickup with no muffler, said nobody came out here anymore. The nearest neighbor was 11 miles away, a guy who ran a Christmas tree farm and kept to himself. No cell service. Power lines stopped about 8 miles back. I paid cash. For 3 years, it was exactly what I needed. I got good at splitting wood, maintaining the generator, fixing things with duct tape and prayers. I drove into town once every 6 weeks for supplies. I spent my days reading, hiking, working on a book I'd never finish. The silence out here isn't really silent. There's wind through the pines, birds, the river in the distance, but it's nothing like the city. It doesn't want anything from you. That's what I thought anyway. It started on a Tuesday, October 17th. I remember because I'd driven into town the day before and picked up my mail at the post office. There was a birthday card from my sister, 2 months late, but she'd remembered. I'd pinned it to the corkboard in my trailer next to the calendar where I tracked the seasons. I was outside that morning stacking firewood. The weather was turning, temperature dropping into the 30s at night. I'd been putting off the wood pile for 2 weeks, and I was paying for it now with my back aching and splinters in my palms. That's when I felt it. The watched feeling. Everyone knows that feeling. That prickle on the back of your neck, the sense that eyes are on you even when you can't see anyone. Usually it's nothing. Paranoia, instinct misfiring. Out here it's usually a deer or an elk, something wild that freezes when it catches your scent. But this felt different. Heavier. I straightened up, wiping sweat off my forehead with my sleeve. The property's surrounded by pine forest on 3 sides, thick enough that you can't see more than 50 feet into the trees. I scanned the tree line, looking for movement. Nothing. I went back to work, but I couldn't shake it. After another 20 minutes, I gave up and went inside. That night, I heard the footsteps. I sleep light out here. You learn to. Every sound registers. Branches scraping the roof, animals moving through the brush, the metal of the Airstream contracting in the cold. Around 2 a.m., I woke to footsteps on gravel. Not animal footsteps. Human. Someone was walking around my trailer. I lay there in the dark, listening. The footsteps were slow, deliberate. Circling. They'd start at the front, near the door, then move down the side. Gravel crunching. Then silence near the back where the ground was softer dirt. Then gravel again as they came up the other side. 3 complete circuits before they stopped. I had a shotgun under the bed. I considered getting it, going outside, confronting whoever was out there. But something stopped me. Maybe it was the methodical nature of the footsteps, not frantic or uncertain, just walking. Walking with purpose. Or maybe it was the fact that nothing human should be out here at 2 a.m., 40 miles from anywhere. I lay awake until dawn. In the morning, I checked the ground around the trailer. The area near the door was scuffed, but I couldn't tell if it was from me or someone else. Farther out, I found one clear boot print in a patch of dirt near the water hookup. Size 11 or 12, work boot tread. Fresh. I thought about Chuck, the realtor. Maybe he'd come by to check on something. But that didn't make sense. He had no reason to circle my trailer in the middle of the night without knocking. I spent the day trying to convince myself it was nothing. Some hiker who'd gotten lost, stumbled onto my property, and left. But I kept finding myself at the windows looking out at the trees. The watched feeling didn't go away. 3 nights later, it happened again. Same thing. Footsteps around 2 a.m., 3 slow circuits, then silence. This time I got up, shotgun in hand, and looked out the window. Nothing, just darkness and the shapes of trees. In the morning I found more boot prints, same size, same tread, and something else. A cigarette butt near the edge of the clearing just inside the tree line. The filter was clean, not weathered. Recent. That's when I started to get angry. If someone was fucking with me, some kids from town, some asshole who thought it was funny to scare the hermit, they were going to regret it. I spent that afternoon rigging up motion lights near the trailer, running extension cords from my generator. Basic hardware store stuff, but they'd do the job. If someone came around again, I'd see them. The lights didn't trigger that night. Or the next. I started to relax. Maybe I'd scared them off just by setting up the lights. Maybe they'd moved on to easier targets. Then Mark showed up. It was a Saturday morning, around 10. I was working on the generator. It had been making a weird clicking sound when I heard a vehicle coming up the access road. Nobody came up that road except me. I grabbed a rag to wipe my hands and walked around to the front of the property. A pickup truck rolled to a stop near my trailer. Older model Ford, green paint faded to primer and spots. A guy got out, mid-30s, wearing jeans and a flannel shirt. He had a friendly face, dark hair, scruff on his jaw. "Hey there," he called out, raising one hand in greeting. "Sorry to bother you." I didn't say anything, just waited. "I'm Mark Jennings," he said, walking closer. "I'm doing some work on the Johnson property about 15 miles north. My GPS took a shit and I think I'm turned around. You know how to get back to Route 12 from here?" I studied him. He seemed normal enough, tired, a little frustrated, the way anyone would be if they'd gotten lost on these back roads. "You go back the way you came," I said. "About 8 miles, you'll hit a fork. Go left. That'll take you to the highway." "Left at the fork," he repeated, nodding. "Got it. Thanks, man." He glanced around the property, at my trailer, the stacked firewood, the skeletal remains of the old RV hookups. "Hell of a place to live? You out here alone?" Something in the way he asked made me pause. Not the words, but the tone. Curious, but also assessing. "Most of the time?" I said. "Peaceful," he said. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Must get lonely, though." "I like the quiet." "Yeah, I bet." He looked at me for another moment, then nodded. "Well, thanks for the help. I'll get out of your hair." He got back in his truck and drove off. I watched until he was out of sight. That night, the footsteps came back. This time they were different, heavier, and instead of circling, they stopped right outside my door. I could hear breathing on the other side of the thin metal. I grabbed the shotgun and moved to the door, my heart hammering. "I know you're out there," I shouted. "I've got a gun. You've got 5 seconds to get the fuck off my property." Silence. Then, after a long moment, "Dean?" My blood went cold. It was Mark's voice. The guy from that morning. "What do you want?" I said. "Can I come in? I need help." "Help with what?" "I'm lost. My truck broke down about a mile from here. I don't have a phone. Can you give me a ride to town?" Every instinct I had was screaming at me not to open that door. Something was wrong. His voice sounded flat, rehearsed. "I can't help you," I said. "Go back to your truck. When it's light, walk to the highway." Silence again. Then, "Dean, please, It's cold out here. How do you know my name? No answer. How the fuck do you know my name? The breathing stopped. I heard footsteps moving away back into the darkness. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the corner of the trailer with the shotgun across my lap, watching the door, waiting for him to come back. He didn't. In the morning, I searched the property. I found the same boot prints from before, leading from the tree line to my door and back. But there was something else this time. Handprints on my windows. Both side windows, both back windows. Pressed against the glass like someone had been looking in, cupping their hands to see through the glare. I tried to convince myself it was condensation, just moisture from the temperature difference. But the prints were too distinct. I could see the lines of the palms, the shapes of the fingers. I drove into town that afternoon. I needed to talk to someone to confirm I wasn't losing my mind. The town, Riggins, population 800, had one grocery store, one gas station, one bar, and a sheriff's substation that was open 3 days a week. I went to the sheriff's office first, but it was closed. A handwritten sign on the door said the deputy would be back on Monday. I went to the bar instead. It was called the Antler, and it looked exactly like you'd expect. Dark wood. Neon beer signs, a mounted elk head above the bar with half its fur missing. There were 5 people inside. The bartender, an old man nursing a whiskey, and 3 guys in hunting camo at a corner table. I ordered a beer and sat at the bar. The bartender, a woman in her 50s with gray hair and sharp eyes, slid the bottle across to me. "You're the guy from the old RV park," she said. It wasn't a question. "That's me. Don't see you in here much. I keep to myself." She nodded like that was answer enough, and moved down the bar to refill the old man's drink. I took a pull from the beer and tried to figure out how to bring up what I wanted to ask without sounding crazy. Before I could say anything, the door opened and 3 more people came in. 2 men and a woman, all wearing sheriff's department jackets. One of the men was the deputy. I recognized him from the few times I'd been to the office to deal with property tax paperwork. His name was Clayton, mid-40s, with the kind of thick build that looked soft now but had probably been muscle 20 years ago. He saw me and nodded. "Harper, right?" "Yeah." He came over and leaned against the bar. "What brings you to town?" I hesitated. This was my chance. But looking at him, at his tired eyes and the way he was already halfway through whatever he'd been doing today, I realized how insane it would sound. Some guy walked around my trailer at night. Some guy knew my name. There were handprints on my windows. "Just getting supplies," I said. He nodded, clearly not that interested. "You see anything weird out your way?" My stomach tightened. "Weird how?" "We've got a guy missing. Mark Jennings. He was working on the Johnson place, didn't show up for his shift 3 days ago. Truck was found on a logging road about 10 miles from your property. Keys still in it." I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. "What did he look like?" Clayton pulled out his phone and showed me a photo. It was the same guy. Same face, same flannel shirt. "You seen him?" I opened my mouth to tell him everything, about the guy showing up at my place, about the voice outside my door. But something stopped me. The expression on Mark's face in the photo. He was smiling, but it was wrong. The smile was too wide, too fixed. His eyes looked empty. "No," I said. "Haven't seen him." Clayton put the phone away. "If you do, give us a call. His wife's real worried." "Will do." He moved back to his friends, and I finished my beer as fast as I could without looking suspicious. Then I got in my truck and drove back to the property. The whole way I kept thinking about Mark's face in that photo. The wrong smile, and the fact that he'd shown up at my place the same day his truck was found abandoned. That night I didn't wait for the footsteps. I sat outside in the dark with the shotgun, watching the tree line. Around midnight, I saw movement. A figure emerged from the trees, walking slowly toward my trailer. Same height as Mark, same build. But the way it moved was off. Too smooth. Like it was gliding more than walking. I raised the shotgun. "Stop right there." It stopped. We were about 30 feet apart, close enough to see each other in the moonlight. but far enough that details were blurred. "Dean," it said, Mark's voice again, but flatter now, emptier. "You're not Mark." "Yes, I am." "Mark's missing. His truck was found abandoned." The figure tilted its head, like it was considering this. "I had an accident. I need help." "Come into the light." It didn't move. "Come into the light," I repeated louder. Slowly it took a step forward, then another, into the spill of light from my generator-powered bulb. The face was Mark's. Same features, same scruff on the jaw, but the proportions were slightly off, eyes too far apart, mouth too wide, and the expression was frozen like a mask. "See?" it said. "It's me." I pulled the trigger. The blast lit up the night, and the figure jerked backward, but it didn't fall. It just stood there, looking down at the hole in its chest. Then it looked back up at me and it smiled. I fired again and again. The figure staggered but didn't go down. Dark liquid, too dark to be blood, spread across its shirt. Then it turned and walked back into the trees. I stood there, shaking, the shotgun heavy in my hands. After a minute, I went into the trailer, locked the door, and pushed my table against it. I didn't sleep that night either. The next morning I went to where the figure had been standing. There was no blood, no sign of the shotgun blasts except some disturbed dirt. But there were those boot prints again leading into the trees. I followed them. I'm not sure what I was thinking. Maybe I wasn't thinking at all. I just needed to know what the fuck was happening. The prints led deeper into the forest, weaving between trees, heading north. After about a quarter mile, they reached a small clearing. That's where I found Mark's body. He was lying face down in the dirt, his back torn open like something had clawed through him from the inside. The smell was unbelievable. Rot and copper and something else. Something chemical. His skin was gray, mottled. He'd been dead for days. I bent over and vomited into the leaves. When I could stand again, I looked around the clearing. There were tracks everywhere. The same boot prints circling the body over and over. And something else. Scratches on the trees, deep gouges in the bark, too high up to be from any animal I knew. I needed to get to town, to tell Clayton, to show him this. But as I turned to leave, I saw it, standing at the edge of the clearing, watching me. It was wearing Mark's face again, but the skin was loose now, sagging like it didn't fit right anymore. The mouth hung open and I could see that there were no teeth, just darkness inside. "Dean," it said. "Why did you shoot me?" I ran. I don't remember much of the run back to my property. Just branches whipping my face, my lungs burning, the sound of footsteps behind me, sometimes heavy, sometimes light, sometimes multiple sets of footsteps like there was more than one of them. I made it to my trailer, got inside, and locked the door. I was grabbing my keys to drive to town when I realized I'd left the shotgun in the clearing. Fuck. I looked out the window. The thing, whatever it was, wasn't visible, but I knew it was out there, watching. I got in my truck and drove. Halfway to town, the engine died. I tried to restart it, but nothing. The dashboard lights flickered and went out. I pulled out my phone. No signal, as usual, but the screen was glitching, showing fragments of images I didn't recognize. That's when I heard the tapping on the window. I looked up. Mark's face was pressed against the glass, eyes wide, mouth stretched in that too big smile. "Let me in, Dean," it said. "We need to talk." I threw the truck into neutral and let it roll backward down the hill, steering wildly. The thing hung onto the side mirror, its fingers impossibly long, bending at angles that shouldn't work. The truck picked up speed. I aimed for a tree. The impact threw me forward into the steering wheel. Pain exploded across my ribs. When I looked up, the thing was gone. I climbed out of the truck, totaled, front end crumpled, and started walking toward town. 11 miles, I could do it. The sun was setting. I made it about 3 miles before it got dark. That's when I heard the voices. They came from the trees on both sides of the road. Multiple voices, all calling my name. I recognized some of them. My sister, my old boss, my ex-girlfriend, all of them asking me to come into the woods to help them, to explain why I'd left. I kept walking, hands shoved in my pockets, head down. Then I heard my own voice. Dean, stop. I looked up. Standing in the middle of the road about 50 feet ahead was me. Same jacket, same boots, same face. It smiled. Where are you going? I didn't answer. I stepped off the road and started walking through the trees, parallel to the road but out of sight. Behind me I heard laughter, multiple voices overlapping, and footsteps. Lots of them. I ran again. I don't know how long I ran. Hours, maybe. The trees all looked the same in the dark, and I kept losing track of where the road was. Twice I thought I saw lights ahead, cars, buildings, but when I got closer, there was nothing. Finally, I stumbled out onto pavement. Not the road to town, some other road. There was a sign, Riggins, 23 miles. I'd been going in the wrong direction. I sat down on the pavement and started laughing. I couldn't help it. The absurdity of it. Running through the woods from things that shouldn't exist. Getting more lost instead of less. That's when I saw the headlights. A pickup truck was coming toward me. I stood up, waving my arms. It slowed, pulled over. The window rolled down. It was Chuck, the realtor. Harper? He said. Jesus, what happened to you? I must have looked like hell, covered in dirt, bleeding from scratches, probably wild-eyed. I need a ride to town, to the sheriff. Get in. I climbed into the passenger seat. The cab smelled like cigarettes and fast food. Chuck pulled back onto the road. You okay? He asked. You look like you've been through hell. Something's wrong at my property. Something's been... I trailed off. How could I explain? I need to report it. Report what? There's a body. Mark Jennings. He's dead in the woods behind my place. Chuck was quiet for a moment, then he said, Mark Jennings has been dead for 2 weeks, Harper. They found him last Tuesday. I stared at him. What? Yeah. Hiking accident, they said. Fell off a ridge up near the Johnson place, broke his neck. Chuck glanced at me. You didn't hear about it? No. No. My mind was reeling. But I saw him. He came to my place. When? Saturday, 6 days ago. Chuck shook his head. Couldn't have been him. He was already dead by then. He pulled a pack of cigarettes from the dashboard, shook one out. You've been alone out there too long, man. It fucks with your head. I didn't say anything. I was trying to process. If Mark had been dead for 2 weeks, then what had shown up at my property? What had I seen? Chuck lit the cigarette, and the smell filled the cab. Something about it tickled my memory. The cigarette butt, the one I'd found near my trailer. I looked at Chuck, really looked at him. His face was the same as always, jowly, weathered, nicotine-stained mustache. But his eyes were wrong, too glossy, reflective, like an animal's in headlights. Chuck, I said slowly, how long have you been driving around out here? What do you mean? You said I've been alone too long, but you don't come out this way. You're a realtor in town. Why are you out here at night? He didn't answer. He just kept driving, cigarette dangling from his lips. Chuck. He turned to look at me, and when he smiled, his mouth was too wide. Way too wide. Dean, he said in Chuck's voice. We've been watching you for so long. I grabbed the door handle and threw myself out of the moving truck. The impact with the pavement shattered something. My arm, maybe my shoulder. Pain screamed through me, but I forced myself to get up, to stumble off the road into the trees. Behind me, I heard the truck stop, a door opening. Dean, come back, we just want to talk. I ran. Again, I don't remember the rest of that night clearly. It's fragments, running, falling, getting up, running more. At some point it started to rain, and I was grateful because the rain covered the sound of my footsteps. I found a hollowed-out log and crawled inside, curling up in the dark. I could hear them out there moving through the trees. Multiple voices all calling my name. Sometimes Chuck's voice, sometimes Mark's, sometimes mine, sometimes my sister's. I waited until dawn. When the voices finally stopped, I crawled out and started walking. It took me 2 days to reach town. I was hallucinating by then. Thirst, exhaustion, probably a concussion from the fall. I saw things in the trees, faces forming in the bark. I heard my name in the wind. But I made it. I went straight to the sheriff's office. Deputy Clayton was there. When he saw me, his face went pale. "Harper? Christ, we've been looking for you. Your sister called, said you weren't answering your phone." He stopped. What the hell happened? I told him everything. The footsteps, Mark showing up, the thing wearing his face, the body in the clearing, Chuck picking me up. All of it. He listened, his expression unreadable. When I finished, he was quiet for a long time. "Harper," he said finally. "Mark Jennings died 2 weeks ago. We found his body near the Johnson property." "I know," Chuck told me. "But then what did I see?" "You've been under a lot of stress, living alone like that." "I'm not fucking crazy," I snapped. "Something is out there." "Okay." He held up his hands. "Okay, let's go check it out. You can show me where you saw the body." We drove out to my property in his cruiser. I directed him to the clearing where I'd found Mark's body. It was empty. No body, no blood, no sign that anything had been there at all. Clayton looked at me. "Harper." "It was here," I said. "I saw it. Right there." I pointed. He sighed. "I think you need to talk to someone. There's a counselor in Lewiston. I'm not crazy. I didn't say you were, but you've been through something. Maybe it's trauma, maybe it's isolation, but something's going on with you." I wanted to argue, but looking at the empty clearing, at the trees that showed no signs of violence, I started to doubt myself. Had I imagined it? Was I losing my mind? Clayton drove me back to my trailer. He insisted on checking inside, making sure everything was secure. He didn't find anything. "Get some rest," he said, "and call your sister. She's worried about you." After he left, I sat in my trailer and tried to make sense of everything. Maybe he was right. Maybe I had been alone too long. Maybe the stress had finally broken something in my head. But then I saw it. On my table, next to the birthday card from my sister, was a cigarette butt. Same brand as the one I'd found outside. Fresh. And next to it, a note in handwriting I didn't recognize. "We'll be back tonight." That was 4 days ago. I haven't left the trailer since. I keep the door locked, the windows covered. I can hear them out there. Footsteps circling, voices calling my name. Sometimes I see shadows moving past the windows. Last night, one of them knocked on the door. When I looked through the peephole, I saw my own face staring back at me. "Let me in, Dean," it said. "I'm you. I belong in there." I didn't answer. This morning I found a photo slipped under the door. It's me standing outside my trailer. But I'm not alone. There are figures behind me, dozens of them, all wearing faces I recognize. Mark, Chuck, my sister, me. And they're all smiling. I'm writing this down because I need someone to know what happened. I don't know if I'm crazy. I don't know if any of this is real. But I know one thing. They're getting closer. The footsteps are louder every night. The voices are more insistent. And this morning, when I looked in the mirror, my reflection smiled at me. I didn't smile back. If someone finds this, if someone reads it, I don't know what I expect you to do. Maybe nothing. Maybe there's nothing anyone can do. But if you're ever out in northern Idaho, near the old RV park on the Salmon River, and you see someone who looks like me standing at the edge of the trees, don't stop. Don't talk to them. And for God's sake, don't let them in, because the thing about faces is they're just masks, and whatever's underneath is still out there, still watching, still waiting, and it knows my name. Tentar Novamente, Story 4. My name is Amanda Cole. This happened last September at an RV campground near Lake Powell in Utah. I need to write this down while I still remember it clearly, though part of me wishes I could forget. I'm a freelance graphic designer, 34 years old, and I'd been planning this trip for months. After my divorce finalized in July, I wanted to get away from Phoenix, away from the apartment that still smelled like Daniel's cologne, away from the friends who didn't know how to talk to me anymore. I bought a used Winnebago, spent 2 weeks getting it road ready, and convinced myself that solo travel with just my dog would be therapeutic. Scout is a 3-year-old Australian Shepherd mix I adopted from a shelter 2 years ago. He's been the only constant in my life through the divorce. Smart dog, usually calm, never barks without reason. That's important to remember. Scout doesn't bark at nothing. I left Phoenix on a Tuesday morning, drove north through Flagstaff, and reached the Lake Powell area by late afternoon. The campground I'd reserved was called Lone Rock Beach RV Park, though park was generous. It was essentially a stretch of desert near the water where they'd laid out numbered sites with electrical hookups. The nearest town was 20 miles back, and cell service was spotty at best. There were maybe 15 other RVs scattered across the area when I pulled in. The camp host, a weathered man in his 60s named Dale, checked me in and pointed me towards Site 47. He didn't say much, just handed me a laminated sheet with the Wi-Fi password and trash schedule. The Wi-Fi didn't work, he admitted, but corporate made him print the sheets anyway. I parked, leveled the RV, hooked up to power, and let Scout out to explore. He sniffed around the perimeter, marked a few bushes, and seemed content. The landscape was that particular Utah blend of red rock and scrub brush, beautiful in a harsh way. The water was visible in the distance, darkening as the sun dropped. I made dinner, just pasta and jarred sauce, and ate outside at the picnic table. A couple from the RV 3 sites over walked past with their golden retriever. We exchanged nods. Scout watched them but didn't react. Normal dog behavior. The first night was fine. I read for a while, checked my phone even though I had no service, and went to bed around 10. Scout slept on the floor beside the bed like always. I'd left one small light on in the kitchen area because total darkness in a new place makes me anxious. I woke up around 3 a.m. to Scout growling, not barking, growling, low and steady, the kind of sound he'd only made once before when a guy tried to break into my car while I was sitting in it. It's a sound that makes your stomach drop because you know something is genuinely wrong. I sat up. Scout was standing at the RV's back window staring out, hackles raised. The window faced away from the water toward the desert and the distant parking area. "Scout, what is it?" He didn't look at me, just kept growling, that low rumble that seemed to vibrate through the floor. I got up and looked out the window. There was nothing, just darkness and the vague shapes of other RVs. No movement. No lights. The moon was out but not particularly bright. "Scout, come here." He finally looked at me, then back at the window, then walked over to me. But he was tense, his body rigid. I checked my phone, 3:17 a.m. I tried to see if anyone else was awake, if there were lights on in other RVs, but everything was dark and still. I went back to bed. Scout lay down but didn't relax. I could feel his tension from across the small space. Eventually I fell asleep, though I don't know when. The next morning felt normal. Scout ate his breakfast. We went for a walk along the beach area, and the previous night seemed like an overreaction. Maybe he'd heard a coyote. Maybe I'd been on edge and transferred it to him. I spent the day working on my laptop while I still had battery power, responding to client emails when I drove close enough to town to get signal. Around 3 p.m., I met the couple from 3 sites over. Their names were Robert and Patricia, both retired teachers from Colorado. Their golden retriever was named Honey. "How long are you staying?" Patricia asked. She was friendly in that way older women often are, genuinely interested but not prying. "A week, maybe longer," I said. "Depends on how the work situation goes." "We've been here 4 days. It's peaceful, though Robert says the nights are too quiet." Robert nodded. "City folk can't help it. I keep expecting to hear traffic." We talked for a while about nothing important. They seemed normal. Honey seemed normal. Everything seemed normal. That night, around 2:30 a.m., Scout started growling again. Same spot, Same window, same rigid posture. I looked out. Nothing. Just darkness. Scout, there's nothing there. But he wouldn't stop. He stood there for 15 minutes growling at something I couldn't see. I tried turning on the outside lights. The RV had a small floodlight mounted on the side, but it just illuminated an empty stretch of desert. No animals, no people, nothing. I pulled the curtain closed. Scout continued growling at the covered window for another 5 minutes before finally, slowly, backing away and lying down. He didn't sleep. I could see his eyes open, reflecting what little light there was. I didn't sleep much either. The third day, I drove into the nearest town, Bullfrog Marina, to get supplies and find Wi-Fi. I ended up at a small cafe where I could actually get my emails to load. There was a local woman working there, maybe in her 40s, who asked if I was camping at Lone Rock. Yeah, I said, just for the week. She got quiet for a moment, then said, "You be careful out there at night." I laughed a little. Careful of what? Coyotes. Just careful, she said, and didn't elaborate. I thought she was being weird. Now I wish I'd asked more questions. That evening, I met 2 of the other campers. They were a young couple, probably late 20s, named Marcus and Jen. They were in a converted van, traveling and working remotely. Marcus was a software developer. Jen did something with marketing. They seemed nice, though Jen looked tired. "Have you been having trouble sleeping?" she asked me directly. "A little," I admitted. "New place, you know." Marcus glanced at her. "Jen's been having nightmares." "They're not nightmares," Jen said. "I'm awake when they happen." I didn't know what to say to that. "Do you have a dog?" she asked, looking at Scout. "Yeah, this is Scout." "Does he act weird at night?" Something in my chest tightened. "What do you mean?" "Our friend's dog does. We met them yesterday. Site 32, couple from Oregon. Their dog won't stop barking at night. They're thinking of leaving early." Marcus touched her arm. "Jen, you're freaking her out." "I'm not trying to. I just want to know if we're the only ones experiencing this." "Experiencing what?" I asked. Jen looked at Marcus, then back at me. Things that don't make sense. That night, night 4, Scout started growling at 2:47 a.m. I didn't even get up this time. I just lay there listening to him. The growling went on for 20 minutes. Then it stopped. Then it started again. Then stopped. Around 4 a.m. I heard something outside. Footsteps maybe, or something dragging. I couldn't tell. Scout heard it too. His growling intensified. I looked out the window. For just a second, maybe 2 seconds, I thought I saw something move. Not a person, not an animal. Just a shadow that seemed darker than the darkness around it, moving across the desert floor about 30 yards from my RV. Then it was gone. I told myself it was my eyes adjusting. I told myself it was nothing. Scout didn't stop growling until sunrise. The next day, I was exhausted. I made coffee and sat outside, trying to convince myself to leave. But that felt ridiculous. I was a grown woman and I was afraid of... what? Shadows. My dog's overactive instincts? Dale, the camp host, drove by in his golf cart around 10 a.m. "Everything okay at your site?" he asked. "Fine," I said. "Why?" "Got a complaint about noise last night. Someone's dog barking." "Wasn't mine," I said. "Scout doesn't bark." Dale nodded. "Probably the folks at 32, they've been having issues." "What kind of issues?" He shrugged. "Their dog. Won't settle down at night. They're leaving today, actually." "Do you know why?" "Didn't ask," Dale said, and drove off. I walked over to Site 32 around noon. The Oregon couple, I never got their names, were packing up. Their dog, a border collie, was in the van already, and I could see it pacing back and forth. "Leaving early?" I asked. The woman looked at me. She had dark circles under her eyes. "We can't stay here." "Why not?" "Because something's wrong," she said simply. "And we're not going to wait around to find out what." Her husband was loading a folding chair into the van. "Lisa, come on. Has your dog been acting strange?" she asked me. I hesitated. A little. "Get out while you can," she said. "We should have left 2 days ago." They were gone within the hour. That afternoon I met a man from Site 18. His name was David, and he was traveling alone in a massive RV that probably cost more than my first house. He was in his 50s, friendly, former military, but not in an obnoxious way. He'd been at the campground for a week already. "You settling in okay?" he asked. We were both at the trash disposal area. "Yeah, fine. You?" "Can't complain. Quiet spot, good for thinking." "Have you noticed anything weird?" He looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. "Weird how?" "I don't know, just off." David was quiet for a moment. "The first few nights I thought I heard things, but I used to be a light sleeper anyway, and out here every little sound gets amplified in your head. You start imagining things. What if you're not imagining them? Then you deal with it or you leave, he said. That's pretty much the options. I went back to my RV and tried to work, tried to distract myself. Scout was restless all day, pacing, looking at the windows, lying down, and then getting back up. I took him for a long walk, hoping it would tire him out. It didn't help. Around 7 p.m., Patricia knocked on my door. "Amanda, I wanted to check on you. Robert and I are worried." "Worried about what?" She glanced around, like she was making sure no one else was listening. "Honey hasn't been herself. And Robert, he's been having dreams, bad ones. He doesn't remember them when he wakes up, but he's been talking in his sleep and the things he says." She trailed off. "What things?" "He keeps saying, 'Don't look at it,' over and over. 'Don't look at it.'" My skin went cold. "Patricia, what's going on here?" "I don't know, but something is. We're leaving tomorrow morning. I think you should too." "Has Dale said anything? The camp host?" "Dale?" She laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Dale lives here year-round. Whatever this is, he's used to it." She left. I sat in my RV as the sun went down, watching the sky turn from blue to orange to deep purple. Scout sat beside me, tense and alert. I should have left. I know that now. But part of me was stubborn, part of me was tired of running from things I didn't understand, and part of me, maybe the biggest part, didn't want to admit I was afraid. Night 6. 2:15 a.m. Scout started growling, but this time he wasn't looking at the back window. He was looking at the door. I froze. The door was locked. I always locked it. But Scout was staring at it like something was on the other side. Then I heard it. A soft sound, like fingers dragging across the outside of the RV. Slow, deliberate. Scout's growl deepened. I grabbed my phone. No signal, but I turned on the flashlight function. The sound continued. Drag, drag, drag. Moving from the door toward the window. I couldn't breathe. I wanted to look out the window, but I remembered what Patricia said. Robert kept saying, "Don't look at it." The dragging sound reached the window. Stopped. Started again, going around the entire RV. Scout followed it with his body, moving to stay between me and wherever the sound was. It took 5 minutes for the sound to circle the entire RV and return to the door. Then it stopped. Scout didn't stop growling for another hour. When the sun came up, I went outside. I needed to see if there were marks, tracks, anything. But the desert sand around my RV was undisturbed. No footprints, no drag marks, nothing. Patricia and Robert left that morning. I watched them pull out, and Patricia waved at me through the window, her face pale. Marcus and Jen left that afternoon. I didn't even see them go. 1 minute their van was there, the next it was gone. By evening, there were maybe 7 RVs left in the entire campground. The place felt empty in a way that was worse than actual emptiness. It felt abandoned. David came by around 6 p.m. "You're still here," he said. "So are you." "I'm curious, he said, probably stupid but curious. Whatever's happening here, I want to understand it." Do you? No, but I've started noticing things. Like what? He pointed toward the water. Watch the sunset tonight. Really watch it. Tell me what you see. That's cryptic. Just do it, he said, and walked back to his site. So I did. I sat outside with Scout and watched the sun go down over Lake Powell. The sky went through its usual color changes. Nothing seemed unusual. Then I noticed something. The shadows from the RVs and the rocks and the sparse trees, they were moving wrong. Not with the sun, independently. I stood up, trying to track one specific shadow from a nearby boulder. It should have been stretching toward the east as the sun set in the west. Instead, it seemed to be pulling toward my RV, like it was being drawn by something. I looked at other shadows. Same thing. All of them, slowly, almost imperceptibly, moving toward the occupied RVs. Not toward empty spaces. Toward the RVs where people were. Scout saw them too. He started growling. I went inside, pulled all the curtains closed and tried to rationalize it. Trick of the light, optical illusion, something to do with the lake and the way water reflects. Anything but what it looked like. That night, night 7, Scout started growling at 1:53 a.m. But this time, there was something else. A sound, not dragging, breathing. Someone was breathing outside my RV. Deep breaths, in and out. Steady, close to the door. Scout was going insane, growling and barking now, something he'd never done. I was pressed against the far wall, phone in hand, though I had no idea who I would call, even if I had signal. The breathing continued for minutes. 5, 10, 15. Then a voice. Male. Unfamiliar. Amanda. It said my name. Amanda, open the door. I didn't move. I couldn't. Amanda, I know you can hear me, open the door. Scout was barking so hard I thought he might hurt himself. I grabbed his collar, tried to calm him, but he was beyond reasoning. Open the door, Amanda. I just want to talk. The voice was calm, patient, wrong in a way I can't properly explain. It was a human voice, but the rhythm of it, the pauses between words, felt off by milliseconds, like someone doing an impression of how humans talk. I know you're scared, everyone gets scared. But it's better if you open the door. I didn't respond. I barely breathed. We could do this the hard way, but you wouldn't like that, neither would Scout. It knew my dog's name. I've been watching you, Amanda, every night. You've been watching too, haven't you? You've seen us. Silence. Then, we're just shadows, Amanda. We've always been here, but lately we've been getting stronger, closer. And when we get close enough, we don't have to wait outside anymore. The breathing stopped. The voice stopped. The silence that followed was worse than the sound had been. Scout kept barking for another 20 minutes. I didn't sleep. I sat with my back against the wall, holding a kitchen knife I'd grabbed, waiting for morning. When the sun finally came up, I threw everything into the RV, barely bothering to disconnect properly from the electrical hookup. I was leaving. I didn't care about the rest of my reservation. I didn't care about looking crazy. But when I started the engine, nothing happened. I tried again. The battery was fine. Lights came on. Radio worked. But the engine wouldn't turn over. I sat there, hands shaking, and tried to think. I'm not a mechanic, but I know enough about vehicles to handle basic issues. I popped the hood and got out to look. Everything appeared normal. Nothing obviously disconnected or damaged. I tried the engine again. Nothing. Dale drove by in his golf cart. Having trouble? Engine won't start. He got out, looked under the hood, poked at a few things. Might be the starter. I can call a mechanic, but it'll be tomorrow at the earliest. Maybe the day after. They don't prioritize campground calls. I need to leave today. Dale looked at me. Really looked at me. Why the rush? I just need to go. You've got 3 more days on your reservation. I don't care about the reservation. He was quiet for a moment, then he said, I've been hosting this campground for 12 years. Some people stay the whole time they planned. Some people leave early. The ones who leave early usually wait until morning, when the light's good. They don't try to leave at dawn looking like they haven't slept in days. What's your point? My point is, you're not the first person to act like this, and you won't be the last. What is this place? And I asked. Dale closed the hood. It's a campground, near a lake, in Utah, same as 100 other places. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I've got, he said, and got back in his golf cart. I'll call that mechanic. In the meantime, you might as well relax. You're not going anywhere today. He drove off. I went back inside my RV and tried not to panic. I had food for a few more days, water. Phone battery was at 60%. I could charge it from the RV battery if needed. I just had to wait until tomorrow, get the RV fixed, and leave. One more night. Scout was exhausted from barking all night. He finally fell asleep around noon, and I was grateful for the quiet. Around 3 p.m., I heard a knock on my door. I looked out. It was David. I opened the door. Hey. Heard your engine won't start, he said. News travels fast. Small campground. I can take a look if you want. Used to work on vehicles in the service. I let him look. He spent 20 minutes under the hood checking things and finally came back shaking his head. Nothing obviously wrong, which means it's probably something internal. You'll need a mechanic. Dale's calling one. Good luck with that. They're not reliable out here. We stood there in awkward silence. You should stay in my RV tonight, David said. What? Yours has been targeted. Whatever's happening, it seems to focus on specific vehicles. Mine's been quiet the last 2 nights. I think you'd be safer there. I can't just leave Scout and my stuff. Bring Scout. Bring whatever you need. I'm serious, Amanda. Something's wrong here, and I don't think you should be alone. I didn't want to accept. Part of me didn't trust him, but another part of me was terrified of spending another night alone, and Scout liked David. That had to count for something. Okay, I said, just for tonight. I packed a bag with essentials, got Scout, and followed David to his RV at Site 18. His setup was impressive. Slide-outs, full kitchen, a bedroom with a real bed. Luxury camping. You can take the bedroom, he said. I'll sleep on the couch. Scout can go wherever he wants. Are you sure about this? I'm sure that I don't want to wake up tomorrow and find out something happened to you because I didn't offer. We made dinner together. He had actual groceries, made a proper meal. It felt almost normal. We talked about regular things. Where we were from, what we did for work, where else we'd traveled. He was divorced too. 3 years ago, no kids. Used to be Army, worked in logistics, now did consulting for military contractors. As it got dark, the conversation shifted. How much have you seen? David asked. What do you mean? The shadows. How much have you actually seen? I told him about the movements, the way they seemed to converge on the occupied RVs. I told him about Scout's behavior, about the sounds, about the voice outside my door. David listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said, I saw something 3 nights ago. What? One of the other campers, a guy from Site 11 traveling alone. I saw him leave his RV around 2 a.m. walking toward the desert, just walking. I figured he couldn't sleep, needed to clear his head, but the way he moved, it was wrong. Stiff, like he wasn't in control of his own body. Did he come back? I don't know. His RV was gone the next morning. I asked Dale about it, and he said the guy checked out early. But Dale didn't seem surprised. He never seems surprised. Do you think Dale knows what's happening? I think Dale knows exactly what's happening. And I think he stays here anyway, which means either he's part of it or he's given up trying to fight it. Around 11 p.m., we decided to try to sleep. David gave me the bedroom and I closed the door. Scout lay down beside the bed. I left one light on. I didn't expect to sleep, but exhaustion won. I drifted off sometime after midnight. I woke up to Scout growling. I checked my phone, 2:37 a.m., same time frame as always. But Scout wasn't looking at the windows. He was looking at the closed bedroom door. I got up quietly, pressed my ear to the door, and listened. David was talking. His voice was low, but I could hear him clearly. Yes, she's here, she's asleep, yes, I'm sure. A pause. I understand. When? Another pause. Tonight. Okay. I'll make sure. My blood went cold. I looked around the bedroom for anything I could use as a weapon, but there was nothing except a lamp that was bolted down. Scout was tense beside me, still growling softly. I heard David's footsteps approaching the bedroom door. The handle turned slowly. I grabbed Scout's collar, ready to run or fight or both. The door opened. David stood there, but he wasn't looking at me. He was looking past me, at the window behind the bed. Amanda, don't move, he said quietly. What? Don't move and don't turn around. I wanted to turn around. Every instinct screamed at me to look, but something in David's voice, genuine fear, stopped me. There's something outside the window, he said. It's been there for the last 10 minutes. I only noticed because I couldn't sleep, was looking out the front window and saw it move around to the back. What is it? I don't know, but it's not a person, and it's not an animal. Scout's growling intensified. The phone call I made, David said. I wasn't talking to anyone. I pretended to be on the phone because I was scared and didn't know what else to do. Old habit from the service. Pretend you're in control even when you're not. I wanted to believe him. I wanted that to be the truth, but I couldn't be sure. We need to leave this room, he said. Slowly. Don't look at the window. We're going to back out of the door and then we're going to barricade it. We did. Moving slowly, I backed toward the door, pulling Scout with me. David kept his eyes on the window the entire time. When we were in the main living area, he closed the bedroom door and pushed a heavy chair in front of it. Did you see what it looked like? I asked. No, just a shape. Darker than the darkness, but I felt it looking at us. That sounds insane, but I felt it. We sat in the living room, all the interior lights on, waiting for morning. Scout positioned himself between us and the bedroom door. Around 4 a.m., we heard something scraping against the outside of the RV. The same sound I'd heard at my own RV. Dragging. Circling. David had a handgun. I didn't ask where he kept it or if it was legal. He held it pointed at the door and I held the kitchen knife I'd brought from my RV. The scraping stopped. Then started again. Then stopped. At 5:13 a.m., we heard a voice. Different from the one at my RV. Female this time. David, let me in. David went white. That's my ex-wife's voice. David, I'm cold. Please let me in. She's in North Carolina, he whispered. She can't be here. David, I came all this way to see you. Don't you miss me? Scout was barking now, full volume. The voice outside started laughing. Not a human laugh. Something approximating a laugh, but wrong in every way. Then silence. The sun came up. We sat there, exhausted, traumatized, not speaking. Around 8 a.m., David said, I'm going to check the bedroom. He moved the chair, opened the door, looked inside. It's clear. I looked at the window. In the thin layer of dust on the outside of the glass, there were marks, not handprints, not anything I could identify. Just smeared patterns that might have been made by something pressing against the glass. We didn't talk about what happened. We made coffee. We sat outside in the morning sun because being inside the RV suddenly felt intolerable. Dale drove by around 10 a.m. Mechanic's coming this afternoon, he said. Should have you fixed up by tonight. Good, I said. Dale looked at both of us, then at Scout. Rough night? You could say that, David said. They get worse the longer you stay, Dale said. If I were you, I'd leave as soon as that RV's fixed. What are they? I asked. What the fuck are they? Dale was quiet for a long moment. I don't know. I've got theories, but they don't matter. What matters is they're here, they're real, and they're not going away. Why do you stay? David asked. Someone has to. And I'm old enough that it doesn't scare me like it used to. You get used to anything if you're here long enough. He drove away. The mechanic came at 3 p.m., He was young, probably early 20s, and he fixed my RV's engine in 15 minutes. Loose connection, he said. Simple fix. I paid him. David helped me move my stuff back to my RV. Scout was reluctant to go inside, but eventually followed me. You leaving tonight? David asked. Right now, I said. I'm going to stay one more nighting, he said. I want to see if I can get photos, evidence, something. David, don't. I'll be fine. I'm a light sleeper and I've got the gun. Whatever these things are, they can't get in unless you let them. I wanted to argue, but I was too tired and too desperate to leave. Be safe, I said. You too. I got in the RV, started the engine, it turned over perfectly, and drove out of Lone Rock Beach RV Park at 3:47 p.m. I didn't look back. I drove straight through to Phoenix, only stopping for gas. Got home around 10 p.m. Scout and I went inside, and I locked every door and window. I tried to sleep. Scout lay on the floor beside my bed, and for the first time in a week, he didn't growl. But I couldn't stop thinking about David. I should have tried harder to convince him to leave. I sent him a text the next morning, even though I knew he probably didn't have signal. Please tell me you left. No response. I called the Lone Rock Beach office. Dale answered. This is Amanda Cole. I stayed at Site 47 last week. I'm trying to reach another camper. David from Site 18. Is he still there? Long pause. David checked out early this morning. Did he leave a forwarding number or? He didn't leave anything, Dale said. Look, Miss Cole, I've got other guests to attend to. He hung up. I tried David's phone number that he'd given me. It went straight to voicemail. I left a message asking him to call me. He never did. A week later, I got a package in the mail, no return address. Inside was a USB drive. I plugged it into my laptop. There was one video file, dated the night after I left. I almost didn't watch it. I should have deleted it, but I clicked play. The video was from inside David's RV, shot on his phone propped up somewhere to capture the living area. Night vision mode, so everything was in that greenish tint. Timestamp. 2:23 a.m. David was sitting in the same chair where I'd sat holding his gun looking at the door. He looked tired but alert. Then he stood up and walked to the door. Not rushed. Calm. Like he'd made a decision. He unlocked the door and opened it. The night vision showed the darkness outside, but there was something there. Shapes. Multiple shapes. Darker than the darkness, just like he'd described. David stepped outside. One of the shapes moved closer to him. They stood there facing each other for several seconds. Then David turned back toward the camera. His face was visible in the night vision. He was smiling. Not a normal smile. Too wide. Too fixed. Wrong. He reached toward the phone and the video ended. That was 3 months ago. I've tried to find information about David. Searched his name online, called the number he gave me, disconnected. Even tried to file a missing persons report. They said he wasn't missing. He checked out of the campground voluntarily. I haven't heard anything. Scout is fine now. No more growling at shadows. He sleeps through the night. But sometimes around 2:30 a.m. I wake up and look at the window. And sometimes I think I see something outside. Darker than the darkness, watching. I tell myself it's nothing. That I'm safe here, in my apartment, miles away from Lake Powell. But last week, I found something that made me question that. I was cleaning out my RV, preparing to sell it. I can't keep it, I can't use it. Every time I look at it, I remember. Under the driver's seat, I found a piece of paper. Folded. I didn't remember putting anything there. I opened it. In handwriting that wasn't mine, it said, "We're just shadows, Amanda. We've always been here. But we're getting stronger. And soon, we won't need the darkness anymore." Below that, in different handwriting, David's handwriting, I recognized it from notes he'd written during dinner, was one sentence, "It's better if you don't fight." I burned the note. I sold the RV 2 days later. I'm looking for a new apartment, something downtown with lots of lights and people. But it doesn't matter. Because last night, Scout started growling again. He was looking at my bedroom closet. And when I opened it, just for a second, maybe 2 seconds, I saw something move in the back, where my winter clothes hang. Something darker than the darkness. I closed the door. I pushed my dresser in front of it, but I know it doesn't matter, because they followed me home.